Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. It's official. We are officially live. Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to Hot Ones, the show with hot questions and even hotter wings. No, never mind. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first I'm No Joe of 2020. It has been a long and grueling break. Holy shit. We are glad to be back, and thank you to everybody who was here for the first one in 2020. We have got a fucking huge one to set things off in 2020. First one of the year is absolutely going to set a hell of a standard for the year. But before we get too far into it here, I want to go around the room real quick and thank these fine folks for coming out on this crazy ass Thursday night, for being here. First and foremost, the freshest of guests you could possibly ask for, Mr. Fresh03 himself. Thank you for being here, kind sir.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I mean,
Very.
is it time to watch? Is it time to watch Macy Barber just annihilate someone yet?
Oh, almost. We're almost there.
Almost.
No.
Oh, okay. I'll sit back a little bit patient. Then.
And then across the octagon from Mr. Fresh03, we've got the one, the only Ned's cousin, the most handsome coil builder on YouTube, Nick Devine.
What's up, everybody? The ghost. Yeah, glad to be here. Let's get this thing started.
Hell yeah. And then across the octagon from me, as is most days, my brother from another mother, my Wednesday night homeboy, the golf tee himself. How are you, sir?
Praying to God I'm not Megatron.
We got you clear so far.
Fantastic. I'm into out with one decade into a new. Hopefully, this new decade, kicky punchy things is better than the last, and I'm enjoying watching it evolve and see where it's going to end up in the next decade.
Hell yes, we have got plenty to look forward to. So, as we do around here more often than not, what I'd like to do to start things off is we're going to go right into the news in recent events. We are not going to do the recaps because if you want recaps, you're going to have to go to the, what did I say, show on Sundays live on Mixer, or you can catch the recap here on its own show on Tuesday nights here on YouTube. So we are going to talk about specifically fight related announcements and fight announcements themselves. So, first off, we have got an interesting bookend set of announcements. Right after we saw you fine folks last, there was a very exciting announcement that had a bunch of us all worked up. Jared Cannonier was finally going to get his crack at top tier talent against Robert Whitaker on March 7th at UFC 248, and it looked like we had a hell of a slobber knocker lined up. And here we are a week and a half, almost 2 weeks after that announcement, and we've already found out that Robert Whitaker, surprise, surprise, is injured and has pulled himself out of the contest in March. So almost, we were that close. Fuck. I mean, it on one hand, it sucks. You never want to hear about somebody, especially in their prime, getting hurt. Specifically hurt seriously enough that 2 months out from a fight, they're already pulled out. But on the other side of that coin, this is Robert Whitaker's MO. This is one of the things that Israel Adesanya specifically had called him out for, is that every other time Rob fights, he hurts himself or he's got an injury from that fight and he's out for a year and a half, so you can't rely on him. This is one of the reasons a lot of people were not big on him as the champion, because when you fight once every 3 years and every fight you're in you get injured and you have to take more time off, you just logjam an entire division. And now here he is talking about he's going to work his way right to the top, get back at his belt, and immediately 2 weeks after he announces his next fight, he's already pulled out of it from an injury. So, Godspeed. I wish you a quick and easy recovery, but at the same time, god damn it, Bobby Knuckles, what are you doing?
I have this strange feeling this has something to do with his camp. 'Cause look how
It sure
often this has
seems like it,
happened.
right?
He hasn't changed. He hasn't changed camp since all of this has been happening. He's been at the same camp.
Yeah,
They need to look at what they're doing that's causing these injuries. Look, I get it. Every once in a while, a freak injury is going to occur, but when it's happening this often in the same camp,
this
you have to
significant.
rethink
Yeah,
about what you're doing.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we wish him a speedy recovery, but damn it, this is the thing that everyone complains about you for, dude. You're proving the rumors to be true. But moving along from that disappointing news, we did get some very interesting news here for next month, February 29th. We have got Cowboy Oliveira versus Mickey Gall. That is going to be a very interesting puzzle to see unfold. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I'm not sure which way I'm leaning. I think stylistically, that's a very strange combination, and I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out. After that, we got another interesting announcement here. Something that I can't really say was surprising. We all kind of assumed it was going to go that way, but now we have the official. Liz Carmouche has officially signed with Bellator. Surprise. The good thing I think about that is we might actually get to see her in a Limale fight for that belt, because they are training partners and have talked candidly about how both of their kind of dream fight would be against each other for the belt. I mean,
Yeah. Now Bellator has almost as many female stars as UFC.
yeah, the path is being laid real fucking clear here. Oh man. But no, I think against the competition over in Bellator, aside from Alimale, Liz is going to be a real force to be reckoned with. I think her and Alimale could be very well going back and forth for that belt for a while, unless they really pick up a grip of real top level talent. I think Liz and Alimale can run that division back and forth for a hot minute in the future. Now, and speaking of interesting announcements that we got, UFC 247, February 8th, 3 weeks from now, they added a main card fight. They're saying it's possibly co-main event. They're still working on that card this close to the event. But one of the most interesting stylistic matchups I've heard them announce rather in a long time, Jose Quinones versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. You want to talk about two very, very different versions of a very similar fighter, tall, lanky, light guy, but very, very different approaches to how you build that creative fighter in UFC 3. These are like polar opposites of your Build-A-Bear characters.
My only question on that one is does O'Malley keep himself clean and not piss hot again?
Well, I will say this. He was in the Quintet Ultra event, and, as much as I don't care for the guy, he did pretty fucking good. He was looking smooth. So he's staying active. Whether he's staying clean or not, we'll find out real soon, because USADA's about to start knocking on that door day and night. But he is definitely staying active, so there is that. And Quinones is just such a fucking well-rounded, weird puzzle for anybody to figure out. I think that would be a really good test for O'Malley, as much as he's still trying to hype himself as, the greatest guy in the division. That's a neat puzzle to put before him, I think, and see how he really stacks up against some of the better guys that he's going to inevitably be facing either way.
Yeah, that's damn near a short notice fight at this point.
Right? Yeah, considering he was just rolling. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that one shakes loose as well. Next one I want to talk about real quick here. We saw him angling for a bit of a different fight, and it looks like it clearly didn't work out that way, but I think we still ended up with a very interesting announcement coming from this particular young man. Uriah Hall has officially been booked for the April 18th Brooklyn card against Jacare. That, I think, will be a very, very interesting matchup because Jacare is not a slouch in his striking department, but that's kind of Uriah's specialty. But on the same note, Uriah's no slouch on the BJJ department either, and that's Jacare's strong suit. So it's going to be an interesting matchup to go back and forth here. I think that's another nice stylistic matchup that could prove to be a very big fight of the evening. Next one real quick. Lil Heathen and Calvin Cater on 248 March 7th. Again, they haven't announced where on the card this is going yet, but that's an interesting matchup. Calvin could definitely use some hype. Stevens is just trying to get in there and not get a liver shot thrown at him, so I mean, at this point, it's really anybody's guess how that one's going to shake out, but I think it could prove to be interesting as well. Now, I almost got to feel bad for the March 14th Brasilia card. In the last couple of weeks, there have been so many big potentials / we're working on / we're in negotiations for / verbal agreements and then fall throughs for so many fights for this fucking card. But they have added one that I think is going to be interesting more for the old school fans, for the UFC heads who have been around for a little while, more so than some of the newer fans. Damian Maia versus Gil Burns. In Brazil, I think that is going to be a hell of a grappling match. And it's not, I don't think it's going to be one of those first round KO kind of fights. This is going to be one of those watching two masters play physical chess in an octagon kind of fights. But I think it's going to be a damn good one between those two. Again, weird style, but interesting potential. February 29th, the Norfolk, Virginia card. Luis Violent Bob Ross Pena against Alex Munoz.
Best nickname ever.
Right? Violent Bob Ross. And he's like 7'4" and 145 pounds. So it's like, he's almost Slender Man. It's creepy, but damned if he is not fucking able with them long ass limbs to do some fucking crazy work. So I think him against Munoz is going to be a pretty interesting matchup to watch unfold. Speaking of matchups that are going to be interesting to watch unfold, 1 month from now on the New Mexico card, February 15th, Jan Blachowicz versus Corey Anderson to the rematch for title contention, essentially. The winner basically gets the next title shot after Dom Reyes. Dana said it. Jan and Corey have both been told, apparently, that the victory gets them the next shot, you know, barring John leaving the division like he keeps saying he's going to and then saying he's not going to. And just, but that's the next title eliminator. I believe Corey took the first one.
Yeah.
So both of those guys on a hell of a hot streak right now. Both of those guys doing big fucking things. I think it's going to be an interesting shakeup because I think both of those guys really have a whole interesting tool bag that is going to get thrown at the other guy. Okay. Next one I want to talk about real quick. Bellator. The 145 belt is back on the line. Pitbull is going to fight Carvalho for it. That's pretty much the top of the 145 division over there. You kind of expected it, but it's official. What the hell?
Did he listen to himself?
My apologies, I was not paying attention.
It freaked me out for a second there because I thought maybe I had a video running in the background. I didn't fucking realize.
That was me. I thought I was muted. My apologies.
You're good. You're good.
As you were.
So, next one I want to talk about real quick. I know this one has our in-house casual all kinds of excited. The next fight added to UFC 249 on April 18th. Jessica Andrade versus Rose Namajunas 2, the rematch. It's official. It's booked. It's going down on the Tony Khabib card of all fucking places. So that one's got a lot of potential. I think that one's going to definitely help hype that card up.
So what's the over under on Rose trying to drop her on her head? What's the over under on that?
I think at this point Rose wants to knock her out. I think Rose just wants to put her to fucking sleep at this point. I don't think Rose even wants to grapple. I think she's going to say she might, but I think at this point Rose just wants to come in there and drop that bitch.
I can guarantee what you don't want to do is get dropped on her fucking head again.
Right, I bet you there's no Kimura attempts this time.
Either that or she's learned to let go, one of the two.
Right? No shit.
Hopefully she's been watching enough Frozen to know to let it go.
Hopefully they showed her that fucking replay of the last fight, that slow-mo, like, see, this is where you fucked up. That moment that you knew that keeping it real went wrong. And then speaking of interesting ladies fights that they have just announced as well, Juliana Pena versus Aspen Ladd, March 28th for the Ohio card. That, I think, will be probably the stiffest test Aspen Ladd has seen to date.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, Juliana Pena's talking real fucking loud right now, so I'm happy they threw her right back in there and let her get after it. Go for it. I'm interested to see how that one shakes out as well. Interesting matchup announced for the other side of the world as well, from the world of 1FC. Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson will be defending his 125-pound gigantic fucking belt against Adriano Moraes on April 11th. That's going to be an interesting fucking matchup as well. I don't know how many people listening to this or watching this have watched many of the 1FC bouts, but it's even if you just want to root for your local favorites, if you just want to tune into Mighty Mouse's fights over there, all of the fights that he has had over there so far have been probably as tough, if not tougher, than every title fight he ever had in the fucking UFC. Not only that, but he is still coming out smelling like a fucking rose, shining like a diamond at the end of every one of those, too. So it really, really kind of emphasizes how fucking good is Mighty Mouse, because now he's doing this on a literal global scale and kicking ass and taking names all the way around the fucking planet.
Just for the casuals, I need to make sure that this is well known. He was not talking about a 125-pound belt, even though it looks like it. He was talking about a weight class.
Oh, I thought the belt weighed the same as the fighter.
They may have. I just wanted to make clarification.
Caveat: you have to be able to pick up the title belt in order to.
Yeah, I thought that's why he fireman carries it instead of wearing it like an actual belt. Like, he's always got that giant hunk of fucking gold slung over his shoulder. I just assumed. But yeah, no. 125-pound division is... there's no such thing as the alpha shark in 1FC yet. DJ is absolutely vying for that, but everybody over in 1FC, specifically in the 125 and 35 that he's been fucking around with both parts, they're serious as a heart attack over there, man. It's not like UFC where you've got, the top couple and then a big gap to the middle of the pack and then your gatekeepers. Everybody running over in 1FC right now is just fucking killers, and it's putting on some really, really great fights. Now, back from the really exciting fights to very curious fights. They say it all the time, styles make matchups. This is an interesting stylistic matchup. The March 14th card has officially been given its main event, Kevin Lee versus Charles DuBronx Oliveira, going to extend his submission record in the UFC. The last time we saw Kevin Lee coming out of TriStar, he looked a lot different than he has in the past. He looked very good compared to what we had seen him in the past, but there was still clearly a lot of holes in his game, still things that Faraz Sahabi needs to round some edges off on, but definite progress. Now, has he made enough progress to come up against a legit fucking killer like Oliveira, who has the record submission in the UFC for a fucking reason? Oh, I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in that. I think it's definitely going to be an interesting fight. Can he stop Oliveira from choking him the fuck out? I don't know, but I'm going to watch to find out. That's for damn sure. Oh yeah, fuck, I almost forgot about that. God damn it. So, not a fight announcement per se, but one of the last things that we had talked about in one of these news and recent event segments was Clarissa Shields, the world champion female boxer, multi-medal winning Olympic boxer, coming to the UFC events, kind of being schmoozed, as it were, by Dana for Zuffa Boxing, and also potentially for a matchup in the UFC, specifically against Amanda Nunes, which I've said before and I stand by is a stupid fucking idea. Amanda, it would definitely give her more trouble than she thinks in the boxing ring, and she would be absolutely decimated in an octagon. 3 leg kicks, a fucking takedown, some ground and pound, and that Olympic medal don't mean shit anymore. But hearing that they were schmoozing Clarissa in a potential matchup with Amanda, Cyborg has come out of the woodwork and adamantly offered to train Clarissa in everything she would need to know MMA. And all I can think is, yeah, you might be good, but for this particular application of skills, I don't think you would be the expert that she would want to go to for this one, considering, aside from any other accolades Cyborg might have, the last time she was in the octagon, Amanda put her face down in less than a round. I'm just saying, whatever good Cyborg may be in any other sense, I don't think this would have been the time to chime in.
Don't do this. Don't do this.
Right? And don't let your boyfriend edit your YouTube channel.
I thought Cyborg was in the room for a minute.
And don't block with your face.
Right.
You think your gin is good? No.
Right. No. One more interesting non-fight announcement, actually fight unannouncement, one that I'm actually a little disappointed about because it was one that I was actually kind of excited for. One of the cards for, or one of the fights rather, from this weekend's card that we're going to talk about later, Grant Dawson is out with an injury against Chaz Skelly. Now, I say injury, and I'm using air quotes here for those listening, because they have said they are suspecting an injury, but there is also a USADA representative following this gentleman around. He also has a prior USADA violation that did not get fully resolved either. So there's also some rumors that Mr. Dawson might have been taking some of those old school Yoel Romero supplements, and this might be a repeat situation here. So it's
this is the one that it was personal reasons is why they announced it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They said that it was speculation from insiders in his camp that it was an injury, and then all of a sudden, the fact that his previous USADA violation was never actually resolved. They went to arbitration and did not reach a conclusion. And then all of a sudden, now there's a USADA rep following him around during press week, and then he's out of the fight. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one shakes out, because that's, again, that could be part of that whole Neil Magny range of supplement issues that turned out to actually be a supplement issue, but he didn't get quite as much of a priority as Nate Diaz's supplement issue got. So we'll have to see how that one shakes out. Now, ironically, speaking of Neil Magny and his USADA issue, they have apparently gotten that settled enough to that they announced that Neil Magny will be fighting Li Jingliang, the Leech, at UFC 248, which, for a guy who's taken a little bit of time off, I don't know that the Leech would be the guy that you would want to come back against, but, you know, A for fucking effort, and my hat is off to you, sir. You're definitely not avoiding any fucking competition. That's going to be very interesting to see how it shakes out as well. Oh, shit, I'm going to sneeze. Hang on. Whew. Blah. Sorry about that. Allergies are stupid. Another interesting fight announcement that just happened this week that I actually had to double take when I read, because it was one of those, like, you read it and you're like, oh cool, wait, what? And then you gotta, like, make your eyes adjust to it again to make sure you were reading the thing correct. And no, it was actually correct. I double checked it. UFC 249 has a new heavyweight bout scheduled. Ben Rothwell will be welcoming the move up by Gian Vellante. He is the latest to make the move, only he is going from 205 up to heavyweight to meet Ben fucking Rothwell. That's going to be a hell of an interesting matchup, because Gian has talked for a long time about how he's a bigger guy and he's willing to make the hard cut, but he's another one of those that he's such a well-rounded fighter. He's got such a strong base. If he stops cutting the weight that apparently seems to be part of the issue with his camps and just goes au naturel and fights big boy style, that's a serious motherfucker to throw around at about 245, 250. That could be very, very interesting to see what John can do at heavyweight coming up now. Interesting little side note here. Not necessarily a fight announcement, but kind of a fight result that's not a fight recap result. If that doesn't make sense, I'm going for that. Paul Daly has officially been removed as a commentator for Bellator MMA. Not as a fighter, still fighting on the roster, but he will no longer be commentating for Bellator MMA. Bellator has not cited it specifically, but inside sources, I'm using air quotes for those listening, have said that multiple upper officials in the Bellator organization have attributed this decision directly to the fact that he called out MVP for fighting soup cans when MVP fought a soup can last month and, surprise, surprise, knocked him the fuck out and acted like an asshole. I mean, he literally said what we were all speaking, but the way that they have phrased it was that Paul's opinion that he expressed was too off script. Which, to me, sounds like he called a fucking spade a spade and they weren't happy about it.
Yeah.
But
so Vince McMahon owns the XFL and Bellator.
Apparently, right?
Sounds like that's a pure Vince move.
Right? How dare you have an opinion?
Dude, just read the script that I gave you.
Right? Read what I tell you to, and that's how it works.
Yep.
Oh. But couple more quick notes real quick. Not fight announcement related, but press conference related. So for those who did not see it, yesterday evening, live from Vegas, we had a mano-a-mano UFC 246 press conference with Dana White, Cowboy, and Conor themselves. A couple of legitimate notes that need to be taken away from this for those who did not get to see it. This was not the Conor McGregor that we have ever seen before. This was legitimately a bona fide different Conor McGregor. This was respectful. This was joking. This was polite. This was positive mindset Conor McGregor, and as strange as that sounds, it worked. It worked beautifully, and it was very reflective, not so much dismissive like he used to be of the things that have gotten him to the point. Very open, very accepting, very honest about the situations that got him to where we are today, but a very different focus, you can tell. And a focused Conor McGregor has tended to be a very dangerous Conor McGregor. But the amount of respect that we saw, not only from Conor to Cowboy, but from Cowboy to Conor, openly, unabashedly, legitimately the most respectful we have ever seen a Conor McGregor press conference go, period, in any of his fights, period. The fact that they were openly complimenting each other back and forth should speak volumes to how fucking serious this event is. We did learn from this that not only do we have a Floyd Mayweather Conor McGregor boxing rematch in the works, but we now know as well from this press conference that we also have a Conor McGregor Manny Pacquiao boxing fight in the works as well. So that's going to be interesting here. One big note that I feel is going to have a big part about what we talk about later on. We learned that Conor McGregor has brought in his original boxing coach, not from when he first started getting famous, from literally the guy that taught him to throw that fucking dangerous left cross when he was 13 years old, is back in his fucking camp right now. And that, I'm telling you right now, is going to have a little bit to play on what we talk about later. But the one thing that I think was the biggest takeaway from this press conference was a small moment that all of the press coverage I have seen from this still has completely glossed over this fact. And to me, and my wife agreed as well, she was watching it with me, this was the most significant thing that happened in the press conference as a whole. Second reporter up with a microphone, first thing out of his mouth, he starts to ask Conor about all his legal problems. The crowd starts booing. Dana says he answered those questions on ESPN yesterday, and Cowboy picks up his microphone and says, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why don't you ask a real question? That's what we're fucking here for." They booed him till they took his microphone away and pushed his ass out of the fucking line. Dana, Cowboy, and the crowd handled the asshole trying to start shit with legal questions over Conor. He didn't have to say a word or touch his fucking microphone. That should tell you how fucking serious this event is. It said fucking volumes to me, and the fact that it's gotten so little coverage just kind of cements that for me here, because that's not something you've ever really seen happen. When's the last time the boss and the opponent fielded questions or helped guide the direction of the questions at a press conference?
That, to be honest, that was it. For me, it was funny as hell when that happened. But as the guy kept asking and asking, I was really hoping that I was going to hear Dana pull like a fucking onstage comedian, kick that motherfucker out.
Right?
But that didn't happen. Although I'm sure with him pushing like that, that's not going to help him get credentialed at the next event.
Yeah, I was going to say, good luck getting your pass next time.
I'm just saying, you might end up in an aerial situation where you're going to have to fight to get your shit back. And with something like that, you probably won't.
I was going to say, and I don't think that guy has enough friends in the fucking industry that are willing to speak up and be vocal. You might not get your fucking pass back, son.
I mean, he doubled down. You got to admire him for that. He just kept asking that.
Yeah, no. Hey, credit where credit's due. He had balls of steel to go for it and stick with it, so I'll give him that.
My favorite part of the press conference when Cowboy said, "So when we get in that cage, you're going to give me a big hug, motherfucker."
Yep, and you know what? I honestly would not be surprised if he does it too, just because.
He's a hell of a presser. That one is by far one of the best press conferences I've seen in a long time.
I agree.
And to be honest, the other individual fucking just interviews they had before the press conference, watching them all, I didn't see that press conference going any other way than that way, which is kind of ironic. Like, it's definitely not the Conor McGregor that everybody is used to. But to be honest, I think I liked it a lot more.
I was a fan.
Don't get me wrong. I would love to see some of the brash "fuck you." Who am I going to apologize to? Absolutely fucking no one. But
Yeah.
at the same time, that cool, calm, measured, and collected, fucking amazing.
Well, and he pulled out a little bit of that old Conor too towards the very end. I think it was either the next to last guy or the last guy that got to ask questions. At one point, he started just getting repetitive with it, and you saw him kind of like turn his head just a little bit, and he's like, "I'm pretty sure I already answered that, mate," and like that, like the way that he crossed his arms and sat back. Like you could see the wheels had started spinning, like he was getting the venom was brewing, and he had to like physically get himself away from the microphone because I think it was curling up behind his tongue there. He was trying not to let that motherfucker have it.
The only question I have that I saw over and over and over again was how many times they asked him, when's the last time you were on the sauce? And he keeps saying 3 months, 4 months ago.
Yeah, 3.5 months ago.
Well, Conor, you're fucking Irish. You don't have to lie. If you had a sip of the sauce, saying so. If in all honesty, you're not, fucking hats off to you. But I just have a strange feeling that there's been a sip or two in there somewhere. A little sore from fucking training last night. Need to go to bed. Little sipper, little snooter.
Right. Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But at the same time, he also said that he's been holding that back as his celebration. That he's been saving that was part of his motivation, is that that's been one of his major distractions, and that he's trying to be more focused than ever, so that he set that as his own reward for his celebration, because he talked about he's not going to do anything the night of. The next night, after he recovers, he's going to have a couple of sips of his proper 12, and then Monday we'll get back into the gym. So
if that's the case, more power to him. I got nothing but respect if that's the case.
Absolutely. But that is all the news and recent events I have got for this particular episode. So that is going to bring us to the focus of this particular episode. The reason we're doing this particular show right now, this weekend's upcoming UFC 246 Cowboy versus Conor. Now, just overall, I've got to say, this, for the amazing card it has been built into, and it is, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. For the card that it has been built into, this still, by and large, is the Conor McGregor show. And not just because he's the main event. This event, for those who don't know, was quite literally created out of thin air for Conor McGregor 2 months ago. The original UFC roster starting for 2020 was the first event January 25th, next weekend, because that's the card that goes directly against the Cyborg card on Bellator. Conor said he's coming back on the 18th. So 246 was quite literally created for Conor McGregor. That being said, there's a litany of very, very entertaining fights lined up on this card. Sadly, this card is not immune, being the first card and the biggest card of the year, to the fluff that we always dread. Luckily, this time, they have managed to confine the fluff to the early prelim cards, and for that, I am very happy. So we're going to start our analysis and our breakdown here in the prelims. So the first fight I want to talk about in the prelims here, Drew Dober versus Nasser Haprasat. This is going to be an interesting grapplers matchup. Drew Dober is a fucking bulldog. That dude gets after it. The problem is, he's got mini Kelvin Gastelum across the octagon from him over there, and that kid's no fucking slouch either. This is legitimately going to be what I feel the opposite of what we got with that Marty from Nebraska versus the MAGA moron fight a couple of weeks back. This is going to be two wrestlers, I think, who are going to actually use their wrestling, and it's going to be a hell of a grappling match. Because while I will absolutely say both of these gentlemen do have some pretty decent striking, these are two wrestlers. And to see these two get in there, I think there's absolutely, like they say, every fight starts on the feet, but I have a feeling every round is going to end on the ground. I think this is going to be a very great wrestlers combination or competition here, and I think Dober's actually going to lose it. I think Mini KG has what it takes, just in overall tools as well as his wrestling, to be the edge that he's going to need to take Dober. I think it's going to decision, though. I think it's going to be a hard-fought 3 rounds, and I think Mini KG takes it by decision.
I think this is one of those fights where I think it might come down to what Dober does.
Yeah.
Because he has been known to just say, fuck it, I'm going to brawl. So, you know, it kind of depends on what Dober gets up to. But, I mean, Mini KG is one of those guys that every time you see him fight, he's 10 times better than he was in the previous fight. So, yeah, he's on the up and up, Mini KG. So, Drew Dober, I mean, it's your fight to lose, honestly. Like if you decide you want to start brawling, like I don't have much faith in you that you're going to be able to pull the brawl off against Nazareth. So it could go either way. I think just with all the improvements I've seen, that is it. How did you say his last name? I thought it was Hawk Parast.
Yeah, it's Hawk Parast.
Hawk Parast.
Yes.
He's one of those fighters that just gets better and better, and yeah. Like his potential is starting to get realized, and unfortunately it might get realized all over Drew Dober's face.
Yeah, so. Absolutely.
My thoughts on it anyway.
I have no comment on this one.
You know, this one I have this strange feeling that there's going to be a lot of people upset during this fight. Because I have a feeling it's going to end up as a wrestling match. And that's perfectly acceptable. However, there are so many people that are going to be tuning in because of the main card that are, for lack of better terms, casuals.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely.
They're not going to understand the intricacies of the ground game. And I think that's going to get boring for a lot of people. So it's kind of a strange way to kick off the prelim card that's going to be on ESPN where everybody can see it.
Right.
I mean, you're not going to pull anybody in with this fight, I don't think. Don't get me wrong. There's the off chance that they could stand up, but I have a feeling this is going to be mainly a grappling.
Yeah.
See who can outlast the other and who's going to end up with a ground and pound victory. Because neither one of them boys is submitting each other.
No.
Neither one of their submission toolboxes is big enough.
Yeah, I it's got potential to be. I mean, it's definitely a fight that people would.
Yeah, towards the end.
Yeah, I suppose, but I mean, it's got the potential to go either way. Like,
yeah.
They could just do the wrestler versus wrestler thing where they just throw hands the entire match, or they could actually work it, and people who appreciate that sort of thing, like myself and like TJ, Nick, and like Meter, will enjoy the hell out of it. You know, watching two guys who are very good mat workers work each other.
Right.
So, it could go either way. It could be a very bizarre fight, but like I said, Hasparak, Hawk Parast.
Yep.
I've got it written down here. Hawk Parast.
That's okay. You'll hear the commentators do the same thing you're doing through the whole fight. It's hilarious to watch guys with names that particular.
Nazareth
when the commentators,
It's a great name too, right? Nazareth Hawk Parast.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
You know, you did make a good solid point there. And it happens a lot. We'll see two really good grapplers, whether they're BJJ practitioners or wrestlers, that they stand up and bang instead of actually doing what they're good at. Which that makes me kind of rethink what I was saying there, because that does bring up that good solid point of how many times have we seen that shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they're counting on is a little MMA math of seeing how many times you put a couple of grapplers up to each other, know that they're going to try to duke it out. Now, they're not going to be the crispest of strikers, but, you know. And, God damn it, now I'm rethinking everything. Son of a bitch.
Well, and that
Hold
also
on.
reflects back, like I was talking about earlier, with the fight with Damian Maia versus Gil Burns. It's going to be a real similar match there. I think exactly the same situation here with these two and with those two. They both obviously have striking prowess, but they are both known for their grappling and their jiu-jitsu. But I think, again, unlike Marty and the Magamoron, I think those two are going to let their grappling and their jiu-jitsu do the talking, much like we're going to get to see Dober and Hakparast do the actual wrestling of wrestling here. I think it's going to be a real similar style match, and I think for those of us that appreciate that technical aspect of the grappling like that, I think it's going to be an interesting match. Now, following up after that, this one, I feel like this is one of those matches, and it seems like, as much as I don't like to say it, it seems like on every card we've had for a while now, there's at least one of these where you've got an interesting stylistic matchup, but one guy, for whatever fucking reason, or gal in some situations, just completely fucking overlooks their opponent to the point where it's almost insulting as a fan watching them do their press talking about what they're going to do next. They're not even, thinking about this opponent. They're not criticizing this opponent. They're not working tape on this opponent. They're completely focused on what's coming after that, and it generally comes to bite them in the ass. And I think that may be what we're going to see in this situation, but I think it might be a little bit fierce in this situation. I'm talking about Andre Touchy-Feely versus Super Sadiq Youssef. Now, if anybody has been paying attention to this show for any period of time, there is one, and I say one person from Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, which has now been vomitously rebranded into the Contender Series. There is one fighter that has come out of that program / organization, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that I feel legitimately should have and is starting to properly get the recognition they deserve. For the most part, by and large, I feel that they are vomiting unprepared talent into the UFC through that channel undeservedly, with the exception of one individual. And I will continue to sing that one individual's praises because that one individual is Super Sadiq Youssef. I will give credit where credit is due. Andre Philly has had some beautiful highlight moments. The problem is they are not consistent. Andre Philly is hot and he's cold. He's on, then he's off. And then clearly we can see now during this week's press, he is unfocused. And normally there's a little bit of room to be unfocused against an opponent. But against someone like Super Sadiq, who is literally good everywhere. He's got great striking. He's quick as shit. His footwork is phenomenal, and his wrestling is top fucking notch. He's also one of the few smaller guys who has legitimate one-shot knockout punch power. So you cannot, in any sense of the imagination, take Super Sadiq lightly. And not only is Andre taking him lightly, he is completely and blatantly overlooking him. And I feel that on top of the already laundry list of reasons that I could say I think Sadiq is going to beat the shit out of Andre here, the fact that he's overlooking him that openly just kind of leads that path of karma to do what it's going to do. And I think that Sadiq is going to absolutely put Andre to sleep because of it.
I think this fight's got the potential. Like if he does snap himself back into focus, I mean, Feely versus Sadiq, it has the potential to be fight of the night.
Oh hell yeah! Both of these dudes are when they're on. Both of these dudes are great. The problem is Andre's not consistently on, whereas Sadiq pretty fucking much always is.
Yeah, I mean Feely. I mean he's got reach. He's looked better the last couple fights than he normally has. He seems to be putting pieces together a little bit. I mean, like I said, I think it's got potential. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sadiq take him out, but if he pops him a good one, all of a sudden he's like, oh, okay, well, this is how this fight's going to be. I think it's got the potential to be one of the better fights of the night. Honestly, I don't know that if he's a lot more focused on Sadiq than he seems like. It'll be a good one. Be a good one. Otherwise, you can't take someone like Sadiq. You just can't not take this dude seriously.
Yeah.
So, we got an MMA kitty.
I don't have any faith in Philly in this at all. From what we've seen out of Super Sadiq so far, albeit just a few fights. I think he's got this. This will be his fourth, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
inside of the UFC outside of the Contender Series.
Yep.
The 3 fights that he's had already, he's put on clinics. Like, he's completely outclassed people. And I think this is another one where he's going to outclass Feely. Unless Feely has the most fucking amazing night he's had since he's been in the UFC.
Which, to be fair, you know, much as I might not care for the guy, the highlight reel shit that we've seen from him, that potential is absolutely there. I'm not completely counting him out by any stretch of the imagination. But
I'm not either. We've seen some really good stuff out of Feely, and he's been around quite a bit longer than Sadiq has. So he's been in the spotlight here before. He knows what's going to happen when he's under the bright lights. That's, to be honest, that's the one notch that I give him over Sadiq right now. I don't foresee this fight going in the full distance either.
no.
I have a feeling we'll see it done in the second round. I mean, we haven't even seen Super Sadiq get into a third round situation yet.
Yeah, I don't know that he's ever seen one.
Guys.
I don't know that he's seen a third round yet.
He's been finishing people. He goes in there with the mentality of, let's go in there, get the job done, and get the fuck out. And you know what? All I'm saying is Super Sadiq's about to go Super Saiyan in there because it's all over.
All right. Well,
Hopefully, he doesn't charge for 6 episodes.
Oh, shit.
so Sadiq, I learned about him here on No Joe, and then I went back and watched Contender Series. He's an awesome fighter. But I do remember the last fight he was in, he almost got into some trouble against that soup can.
He got a little crazy, yeah.
He got caught, yeah. So, and I like Andre Fili, so I'm going to take Andre Fili to be the heel in this one.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I said. You know, I'm not going to completely count him out by any stretch of the imagination because we've seen the kid have fucking glimpses of greatness within him. But when you start hot and cold in the UFC, it's hard to really break out of that fucking pattern, it seems like.
Yeah.
But
I haven't seen his press conferences either, so I don't know if that would change my mind as much. But I agree with Fresh. I do think this could be a fight of the night.
yeah, there's a lot of potential here for these boys to just get the fuck after it.
Yeah.
But moving on from there will bring us to the premier fight, as it were, on the prelim card. This is... It's a matchup. It's definitely a matchup. Yeah. Roxanne Modafferi versus Macy Barber.
Yeah.
Literally, just the first thing I think of when I read this fight, and when I read it while I was doing my notes, it gives me the same impression when I look at my notes now, getting ready to talk about it. The first thing that comes to my mind when I read those two names... literal fucking yawn. Now, this is one of those very few times where I'm not going to make a pick based solely on the abilities that I think the two have. This is one of those weird situations for me where I have to pick the lesser of two evils. For me, this is a combination of a hype train around Macy Barber that she has not really lived up to yet, versus the hype train of Modafferi for being able to stop those who were on a roll but never actually do it proper herself, to get the big win herself when it comes down to it. Yes, she's had some notable wins, but never a spectacular win, never when she needed to put on the show. Always been one of those like, oh shit, she stopped her kind of things. So this is a weird force pick for me here because on one hand, again, like we talked about with Philly here, Barber has had some flash glints of potential greatness. But for me, they've been way outshadowed by her own fucking ego and her own ability to just try and force boost herself up. And that's not how the fucking UFC works. Everybody wants to use that Conor McGregor route where if you talk good enough about yourself and you're loud enough, you go right to the top. But the difference is Conor went out there when he did that shit and he backed it all up. And we haven't seen that from Macy yet. But on the other side of that, for as lackluster as Roxanne Modafferi is, she really is a solid contender. She might be a soccer mom, but that soccer mom's got some legit fucking BJJ skills under her fucking belt too. Yeah. So this is one of those where I really can't pick based on the skill set here because we haven't really seen Modafferi be able to keep her skill set exemplified under the big conditions. But on the other side, we haven't seen Barber put her skill set definitively on display every time either. So this is one of those where I'm literally just going to abstain from picking a winner here. I think it's going to be an interesting match, but I actually cannot see either one of these making a definitive win for me.
Modafferi's she's kind of an underrated striker for as long as she's been around too. Macy Barber's just, I don't know. There's just something about her to me. I'm picking Barber. I think she's gonna fucking bulldoze her. She just seems like one of those fighters that she hasn't hit her potential yet, and there's parts of her game that need a lot of fucking work. But what she does have, she does incredibly well, and she's just a little fucking pit bull, and I enjoy watching her. I enjoy watching her and try and work everybody into a ground and pound, and then just try and punch their face through the mat. So, I gotta go Macy Barber here.
Oh, I have to go completely against that. Namely, one, Macy's fucking hype train is just a conjuring of her own mind. It's not actually a hype train. Two, I can't stand her. I really can't. Don't get me wrong. She's got legitimate enough skill to make it into the UFC. And for those of you that are listening and not watching our faces, there were air quotes there when I said legitimate skills. Just so that way you guys are aware. But Modafferi, she's everybody's mom. She's the one who you see in the kitchen making fucking spaghetti for your friends when they come to spend the night. Yep. I really hope she wins this match.
Find out she goes BJJ on the weekends.
Right.
Yeah. She does the women's self-defense classes at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
But besides all that, I don't even care to see her win either. Like, this fight has no bearing to me except for seeing Macy Barber lose, just so somebody will shut her fucking mouth, because she does not know how to stop talking. She's calling people out that she has no idea what they're going to do to her when they get their fucking hands on her and just completely wreck her fucking world. Somebody derail her ass before somebody who's a lot worse off really hurts her. And I'm saying this purely as thinking in her best interest. Take a loss to somebody like this,
right?
Who's not really gonna hurt you, because
right, a big name is not gonna set you off.
Yeah, she's not gonna fucking dislocate your jaw or anything like that unless she catches you in some weird position.
Unless she gets you right.
But fuck, somebody shut Macy Barber up. I'm sick of hearing her own fucking hype train, because it's her own. Nobody else. Nobody's touting her. She hasn't gotten any farther ahead by fucking calling people out. Although, on the other side of that, I would love to see her get somebody who is actually worth the damn to go in there and shut her the fuck up and teach her, hey, you don't belong here yet.
See, this is exactly what we've been talking about this for like the last three shows, that heel face dynamic.
Yep.
Like, You need people like Macy Barber in the UFC to get to irritate the shit out of you.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's fuck, it got Mega Boy. It got him a fucking title shot.
That's
Like
true. He talked himself right up to the fucking belt.
exactly. And Macy Barber, she's 21. Nobody's beaten her yet. Talk all the shit you want. There's someone bigger, faster, and stronger out there waiting for you.
Yep.
I don't know that it's Modafferi.
Okay, so I see it a little differently with Macy Barber. I picked Macy Barber. I think she's definitely not likable with some of the shit that she says. I don't know if she's trying to push herself too much. I think you could see it the way she fights and the way she talks. She's just super aggressive. She's just a really aggressive person. And she's just going to do whatever she has to do to forward herself. And she's just very, very aggressive. And I like what Fresh said. I respect everybody's position in the game. Like I'm a fan of like Kobe Covington and Mike Perry and stuff. I love shit like that because it makes it interesting for me. So I like the heels and stuff like that. And I just think Macy Barber, just because of her aggressiveness and how Roxanne isn't really aggressive. She's very, she's got a lot of skill and stuff. She was in the same, she was in that fight. What is it called? The Tough House with Eddie Alvarez and Justin Gaethje. Yeah. So I just think Macy Barber's probably going to win this one. I'm thinking pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking second round. Yeah, I can't see it getting much past that.
Side note:
one way or to other. I can't see it getting much further past that.
I am willing to bet though that she's going to come out and have 9-0 written on her fucking tape.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that's just the kind of shit she does.
Mm-hmm.
How bad's that gonna feel when she gets choked out?
When you see the 9-0 fall over because she's unconscious.
The only 9-0 she's reading is while she's trying to pull hands off from under her chin.
Right. No shit.
And she gets arm barred, and all you see is that fucking
stretch the fuck out. Yeah.
Break it. Now it looks like a 1.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Kids these days, I tell you. But with the appearance of the one and only DJ Hammy himself, Mr. Patrick Michael, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Glad to be here.
Glad you could make it, sir. So that will bring us right into the meat and potatoes of this particular episode, the main card. So we have to start right at the tippy top because much as the prelims might have been kind of meh, they legitimately gave us a very nice lineup here for the main card. So we're going to start right at the tippity top here. Anthony Showtime Pettis versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. This might be, for me, one of the most slept on fights on this card because everyone knows who Showtime is, but very few mainstream fans. Oh, shit.
I wrote fight of the night.
Yep. Very few mainstream general casual fans will know who Diego Ferreira is. For those of you who are uninitiated, he is quite literally a world-traveling, world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu death machine. Mm-hmm. This man is fucking lethal with his Jiu-Jitsu. And the thing about it is that he has now spent the better part of a couple years rounding that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu dominance into a full-rounded MMA toolbox. And now he's got his striking on point. His grappling outside of the Jiu-Jitsu is on point. And he knows all about Showtime. The difference is Showtime's never really had a guy like Ferreira on his radar because he's just making his way through the MMA world coming from the Jiu-Jitsu world. So he's kind of slid under the radar for old Showtime there, whereas he's been on the other side of this. He's been watching Showtime since he first considered starting into MMA from the jiu-jitsu world, and he and his coaches have watched hours and hours of tape because it's out there from Showtime's MMA career. They looked at his ticks, they looked at his tendencies, they looked at his timing. They've had lots of tape to work with on Showtime, whereas you flip that around, and as great of a coach as Duke Rufus is, there just isn't a lot of tape for the MMA aspect of Diego Ferreira here. And that's one of those things that makes him that much more dangerous. If you follow him, if you follow his social media, Diego is fucking dangerous everywhere. Specifically, anywhere he can put his jiu-jitsu into practice. But now, with the rounding out of his camp, the working on the striking, the working on the individual grappling, not just jiu-jitsu, but MMA grappling, he is really developing himself into a serious contender at both lightweight and potentially welterweight, because he's competing against Pettis here back at 55. This is Anthony going back down to 55. But Diego has competed everywhere from 150 to, I think he said, 179 in the jiu-jitsu world. So he's already familiar with the fluctuating weight difference, and he's got his body accustomed to doing both. Whereas Pettis, we learned, is just starting to kind of dabble a little bit in the welterweight range for the first time. I think this is one of those situations where we're going to see a fight come out and it's going to be fucking fireworks from the get-go, because Showtime always wants to do just that. He wants to make it Showtime. He wants the eyes on him. He loves the glitz. He loves the glamour. He loves the flash. The problem is, we've seen him, like many other fighters who enjoy that glitz and glamour, that flash, they burn out. They can't go the distance. And then you've got a guy like Ferreira who's used to doing long running jiu-jitsu matches, who has the cardio to go full bore all 3 fucking rounds here, as well as the factor that Anthony can't really train as well for him. As much as I would like to say this should be, and I'm using air quotes, an easy victory for Pettis, I think it's going to be quite the opposite. I think this is going to be one of those situations where Pettis comes out thinking he's got this in the bag, and he's going to get surprised as the fight goes on, and we're going to see that game plan start to fall apart as Ferreira starts to pick him loose, and I think we see Pettis go to sleep before the end of the third.
I would not be surprised at all if Pettis gets taken out. You know what Pettis is going to do? He's going to sit there, he's going to tick, and he's going to be sitting there looking for that opening, because what he wants to do is finish it.
Yep.
He wants that big shot, no matter what it is. He wants Showtime, just like you said. He wants Showtime.
He wants a crazy kick or a nice off the cage Superman, like he caught fucking Wonder Boy with.
Yeah, but he's fighting a different beast. I mean, this guy Ferreira could just light into him too. That's the thing with his striking, how much better it's gotten. Like, he could light into him. Like, he could go for something flashy, and next thing you know, he's sitting there counting stars, looking up at the fucking roof of the arena. Like, that's how much better this dude's striking's gotten. But I mean, the dude's lethal. Dude's lethal if it goes to the ground. If he gets him locked up anywhere, if he gets him locked up to the side of the cage, it's potentially lethal for Pettis. And so I'm curious as to Pettis' game plan, what it's going to be, because he's not a super defensive master. He's got some defense. He's a smart enough guy to avoid a lot of things, but is he smart enough to avoid getting into a situation with a guy who's good in every situation? So I honestly don't know if Pettis I don't know if Pettis is going to make it out of this. I know everybody loves Anthony Pettis. They love watching his fights because they're exciting one way or the other. And I just don't know if he can make it past this dude. Like, it's a tough one. I put stars on that next to that, as this is potential fight of the night. I don't see many other fights on the card that excite me as much as what this one has the potential to be.
You know, I have a lot of love for Anthony Pettis, purely because he's a Wisconsin boy. He's done a lot of great things in his career. However, albeit he's young still, he, in my opinion, is in the back 9 of his career right now.
Agreed.
He got lucky fighting Wonder Boy. That was pure luck. much as I hate to say it, it was cool to see, but it was luck. It wasn't quite as lucky as the last second elbow that we've seen in the past, but there's definitely some luck involved. However, that's always been Anthony Pettis' MO is he likes flashy, he likes to have fun in there. That's always been his thing. Thus, the reason for the most replayed fucking highlight of all time, the jump off the cage head kick to fucking Benson Henderson. But
Hendo!
he, unfortunately, for Anthony Pettis, his game has not evolved like the rest of the sport has. Don't get me wrong, he's still a good. I'll give him a top 15, top 10, 15 fighter. He still falls in that range, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But he's dealing with a whole different kind of animal. Somebody whose game has evolved. And who has a way better fucking ground game. Bar none. Like, completely outclassed. This goes to the ground. Pettis is completely fucked. 6 ways from Sunday. And that's all there is to it. Now, Diego, his striking has improved. Now, to the extent of what, though? This is my one question. We haven't seen him in a lot of fights with a lot of predominant strikers where he stood and banged. We haven't seen that yet. So I can't say that he's going to outclass Pettis' striking. Pettis' striking is still pretty goddamn good.
Absolutely.
Albeit he does like to do some crazy shit, which does tend to get him beat up a lot. He's still got solid striking when he sticks to the basics. To be honest, I don't think that, as much as I would like to say it, I don't think Anthony Pettis gets it done because he's been on a lot of a hot cold lately where he's either wins with a knockout or he gets clean the fuck up. There's been no happy mediums, no fucking decisions lately. It's been either one way or the other.
Or he breaks his hand, in air quotes.
Breaks a hand, whatever the case is. Look, there's that fucking fight. That pissed me off beyond belief. Do you know how many fighters we see fight with broken fucking hands? You couldn't fight with a broken hand.
The Magamoron fought with a fucking broken jaw.
For fucking another 2 rounds before he got put away. Yeah. And possibly 3 because he may have done it in the second.
That's right.
But either way, there's been fighters that fight with fucking broken arms. Don't quit over that shit. But that's besides the point before I get myself way off fucking track here. To be honest, I think Diego gets this done. And it's probably not going to be in the first round, and I don't think it's going to be in the second. I think he ends up putting Pettis away in the third. But I think what's going to happen is it's going to end up going to the ground at that point. He's going to submit him.
My foot was a balloon. Yeah. I got Carlos Ferreira because exactly with the hand, it's not just the handbrake. Dude, it's every fight with Anthony Pettis. It seems like there's quit in him. It's just every single fight. He goes back to that bench, and it's like, no fucking, he's got them brittle hands now, I guess. I don't know. I like Anthony. I have a lot of respect for Anthony Pettis on the ground, though. I think he's actually very good. I don't know how, I mean, obviously, you guys are telling me that Carlos Ferreira is good, but it seems like Anthony Pettis is very good on the ground from, like, even the Nate Diaz fight. That was fun watching them roll around for a bit. So, yeah, I'll take Ferreira based on the quit.
Yeah, so if you guys actually look at the losses that Anthony Pettis has had, he only has 1 submission loss. But I don't know much about Ferreira. I do know that that's what I'm taking because, like everybody who knows Anthony Showtime, you guys know about his quit, and that's exactly right. It feels like he gets winded very fast, but then I also wonder because he's so good at utilizing his kicks, what kind of chin does Ferreira have if he can catch him? But also, that just sets up the ability for Ferreira to take him down if he does go, ape shit throwing kicks where he can just take him down and then it's going to be over anyways because he's going to wear him out. But I honestly think because of I in my head I was thinking Anthony Pettis had more submission losses, but it turns out he actually has more decision losses than anything. And that's really strange. But at the same time, he is one of those guys, like you guys said, where he can bring an audience. People will watch him still. He can still be a main card fighter. But
Oh,
at the
yeah.
same time, these new guys that are coming up have changed the game so much where they're so versatile where it's almost like you have to be good at every area to even stand a chance to fight them. Yeah, we saw him beat Wonder Boy, but at the same time, it's questionable luck, like we said, definitely luck. But 155 is one of the strongest divisions in the UFC currently. So to stack him up there in the top 15 is, I don't know. I don't know if we can go that far. It's much like you know, hopefully it's a good fight, but at the same time, it could end very fast if in my mind, if Ferreira gets him to the ground, because Anthony Pettis is just gonna he seems to relax too much in that position where he's not fighting to stand back up, he's not fighting to get a submission.
Right.
So
He
I
gets
like
comfortable.
I'm pretty exactly. So I go with you, Meter, 100%. I don't think that this goes past maybe the second round. It just depends on how crazy Anthony wants to get in the first round. If he starts throwing a bunch of useless strikes, it's not going to make it.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I agree. I think it's going to be. It's definitely got potential for it to be absolute fucking fireworks. But at the same time, I can't see Anthony bringing that W home unless something crazy fucking happens.
Right.
But
That's Pettis' game. Where's
Yeah,
that lucky shot?
That's kind of
Can't
his style, though.
play
Yeah,
it.
he really loves those weird, flashy, fucking attention-getting shots. So
Yep.
we'll have to see how he plays it. But moving
Yeah.
from there to our next fight on the card here, this is going to bring us to one of two lady fights on the main card. The first one here, this is going to be, I think, kind of similar to the earlier lady fight that we talked about, but not quite to the same degree. We're talking about Claudia Gadelha versus Alexa Grasso. Now, this one it's real similar in that Alexa is very similar to Macy. She's a young up-and-comer. She's got a lot of hype behind her. We haven't really seen a whole lot from her yet. And then across the octagon from her, you've got Claudia Gadelha, who has been around the fucking block in terms of the UFC. And now, to her credit, Claudia Gadelha has completely changed up her camp. She has completely uprooted and moved. She is legitimately training with some top fucking class killers right now. The problem is, we did not see that make much of a difference in her last fight, and she was at the new camp for the last fight. It's one of those situations where, like we talked about with Pettis here, she's been around so long, but her game has not evolved. And then you throw against her a new up-and-comer who's got a real adaptive kind of hybrid, unpredictable style we just haven't seen enough of yet to really make a determination to what level. But just being that she's of that new breed, she's of that hybrid style, she's not really orthodox in anything she does, but she does have a very well-rounded game. And then you look at Gadelha, who, to her credit, is one of the most dominant lady strikers in that division. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, off the fucking charts. But she can't seem to keep it all pieced together. She can never really go for the takedown when the moment is there, or when she should be going for the takedown, she wants to stand and strike to try and prove a point. And more often than not, it ends up with her getting her ass kicked for it. We can hope this new camp might have pushed a little bit of common sense into her, but if the last fight we saw her in is any indication, she's going to come out and she's going to be the same Claudia that we've seen time after time. She wants to make it a striking battle. She'll go to the ground if she has to, but she wants to predominantly stay on the feet. And then against a young up-and-comer like Grasso, who's got good footwork, who's got decent striking, but also is not afraid to take someone like Claudia to the ground, I think that might pose a little bit of a problem because, much like her most noted opponent, Joanna, Claudia really does stick with the patterns that she has had success with in the past, and she doesn't really adjust her game too much based on the next opponent. And we've seen that come back to bite her in the ass time and time again. And I just feel like this is one of those situations where you can't teach some old dogs new tricks. Sometimes when they're set in their ways, they're just set in their fucking ways. And I think Claudia is one of those dogs that you just can't get that new trick banged into her fucking head no matter how many times you smack. And I think she's going to get a hard lesson here from Grasso. I don't think it's going to be an early, easy victory. I think she's definitely going to make her work for it. But I think Alexa comes out of this one with her hand raised, and hopefully Claudia can get her shit together, because if the last fight and the training footage that we've seen of her coming into this is any indication, she's doing the same shit in a different place, and it's not going to get her a different fucking result. I'd like to be wrong, but I have a very strong feeling here that we're going to see Alexa give her a little bit of a lesson about what the new breed can do.
Yeah, I actually was trying to put my finger on what's going on with Gedalia. And I, as I was researching the fight, looked over on SureDog, and someone brought up the fact that she got gassed out in a fight, and ever since then she hasn't been the same. And so she takes her foot off the pedal so that she thinks she has energy for the end of that fight, when she should just be going full fucking bore. And this should be her fight to win. Like, it should be with her BJJ. Take down the youngin, work her, get a submission, work yourself into a ground and pound, something. It should be her fight to win. The reality of it is it just, she's had a problem for quite a while. And hi, she said she's coming over. Yep, coming over to talk fights. Yeah, her problem is she doesn't have confidence in herself to go in and finish fights anymore. And you're going up against someone who's a really, really, really good boxer. So she's not going to be scared to step up and strike back and forth. She's not going to be. But she has a hybrid game where she could in theory take Gedalia down, work her a little bit. And if Gedalia doesn't just step on the pedal, she's going to be in a lot of trouble with Grasso. So this is one of those fights that remains to be seen exactly who we're getting out of Claudia. But I don't know that she's overcome her fear, and she didn't change her ways last time. Why is she going to change it now? So that's a hard thing to unlearn, that monkey on your back. So we'll see. But I mean, I think Grasso's got this.
You know, I want to give Claudia Gedalia the benefit of the doubt, and I think I'm going to, for one reason and one reason only. The change in camps, where she's made a decisive decision to say, you know what, this shit isn't working. I need to go to a different camp. I need to focus all my time there and see if that changes the outcome. Now, is that going to change her mindset about the way she's come in slow? And by slow, I mean not going full pace right away, trying to leave something in the gas tank. No, I don't think the camp will fix that. That's a mindset issue. That's a mental block you have to figure out how to get over. That's a hurdle. The only thing that I can say that's going to get her over that hurdle is a good solid win. And look, she beat fucking Marcos in a decision. Not a big fucking deal. And that was back in July. It really wasn't impressive at all. Look, you won. Good on you. I mean, fuck. Who did she fight before that? Was it fucking, I think it was like, I want to say it was fucking Nina Ansaroff. Didn't Ansaroff beat her to get her next fight?
Yep.
And she got worked miserably by Ansaroff. And Ansaroff, don't get me wrong, she trains with a really great fighter, but she sleeps with her.
Yep.
But that doesn't make her great, because to be honest, Nina Ansaroff, in my opinion, middle of the road person, but we're not talking about her.
Agreed.
But when you're getting beat by a middle of the road fighter and you've been here that fucking long, there's an issue. But then, oh, well, I did great because to be fucking Marcus. No, that doesn't fucking matter. That bitch has no business here. On this other hand, Alexa Grasso has shown a lot of fucking potential. A lot. Now, is she somebody who I expect to ever win the title? No, I don't. I don't see enough potential in her to actually win the title. Prove me wrong, please. Prove me wrong, but I don't see that happening. She just does not seem to have the tool set currently to do so. In fact, she probably needs another 3 or 4, maybe 5 years before that would happen, in my opinion. However, those hybrids, they do change quickly. So, that being said, I really think Alexa has a very strong possibility to take this. However, I'm going to lean on the fucking probably wrong side of this fence here. I'm going to say Claudia takes it purely on the fact of the camp change, knowing that she had a problem and she's trying to actively fix it. We'll see if that does it for her. However,
Interesting.
I don't think she finishes Grasso. I do not. If she does, fuck me running. I think it's going to end up being tight. I think it'll end up being a split decision, if anything. Because to be honest, if I'm truly being honest here, I really want to say Grasso is going to win this wholeheartedly. But I'm trying to play devil's advocate with myself here and give Gedalia the benefit of the doubt, just because she's still fucking young, and she's made the conscious decision to say, "Hey, something needs to change in order to get the fucking train back on the tracks there." So.
True. It's more than most fighters do.
I'm going to give her that benefit of the doubt. However, I still think she went to the wrong team for that. But hey, that's just my own humble opinion. I know I'm just some random guy off the street. Thus, the armchair quarterback hit me right now.
Yeah, I have Claudia Gadelia too, and just based off experience, I think this is a really good fight. But that's what's great about the UFC; they're all really good fights. They're always hard to pick and stuff like that. So I'm going to take Claudia just because of experience, and I feel kind of the same way. I don't see Alexa Grasso as somebody that's going to win the belt or anything. Not at this point, anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe later, but yeah, I think this might be where she starts to see trouble with these more experienced fighters.
Yeah, I got Gedalia by decision as well, but only because I mean Grazo's still young, and I feel like you said, Gedalia's got so much experience, and Gedalia's never been finished. She just has decision losses, and there's only 4 of them. So if it is to go to Grazo, it makes you wonder if she can catch her. If she could catch her early, would she be the first one to put a finish on the record of Gedalia? And does Gedalia come in and lose and still continue to fight for the UFC? It's another question I have to wonder, because with this back and forth, win, loss type of deal, you're not as big of a draw. And when we look at the UFC now, that's what they want. They want fighters that can draw. I mean, look at Mike Perry. I thought he was great when he first came around, and he's done nothing but embarrass my fandom now because he keeps losing. But that hype train is what's going to keep him in at least the prelims, right? Where he's going to be at least recognizable. He's going to be online doing his thing or whatever. But Alexa Grasso actually has submission losses. She's been knocked out. But does Gedalia have the power? Does she have the stand up to go against Grasso? So the question's got to be there. But I always, when it comes to women fights, and this is purely because of what I've seen watching fights, I pick a decision every time. I can never go knockout or submission because in most cases it's going to be a long fight. So I got Gedalia for a decision against Grasso. But like you said, she could be a champion in 5 years from now if she can continue to put up. If she comes in here and finishes Gedalia, do you think there's a better chance for her to be pushed up towards contention?
I do. I absolutely do.
Yeah.
I feel like she's very much on, for lack of a better term, as much as I hate to fucking say it, I think she's very much on a similar path to Macy Barber in that she's representing that newer breed of the younger fighters that's coming up. And as much as some of these, and I don't mean this insultingly, some of these older fighters in the UFC, again, Gedalia is still pretty young, but in terms of MMA miles, she has got fucking well over 200,000 at this point. Versus Grasso, who I believe this is her 5th UFC fight now, or 6th UFC fight, and she only had, I think, 3 amateur fights before she came to the UFC. She's not real deep in the game overall. So I think this is one of those situations where they're starting to do it more and more as they're starting to bring young blood in, They give some of these younger hybrid up-and-coming fighters a well-known name like Claudia Gadelha in terms of, well, Claudia's into a new camp now, so if Claudia beats this new breed, it shows that she's evolving her game and she's keeping up, versus the opposite side of that, if Alexa can get past somebody like Gadelha, who's been in the game so long and has a pronounced name, who fought for the title, before, I think they springboard her up and they start throwing her at that really more higher numbered competition. But that also assumes that she gets past somebody like Claudia Gadelha too, because this could also go where if Claudia Gadelha wins, well, yeah, she was supposed to. She's fighting a fucking up-and-coming soup can. So I think if Claudia really wants to capitalize on this, she needs to make a fucking point. She needs to go in and put on a clinic and just beat the shit out of Alexa Grasso everywhere, judo toss her, throw her down, and elbow her to fucking oblivion, and then stand up and be like, who's fucking next? Otherwise, really, anything that Grasso does shy of a very lackluster 3-round fight to a split decision, Grasso comes out on top from this match, in my opinion.
I agree. Like I said, it's Gadelha's fight to lose.
Yeah, it really is.
I think she will.
Yeah, I do as well. But from there, that will bring us to another one that I am a firm believer is very much being overlooked on a card full of very interesting stylistic matchups here. This one I have heard almost no buzz about from the quote-unquote, air quotes, MMA media by and large, and it's a little bit hurtful as a hardcore fan, because I know, based on watching what these guys ask when they get their press opportunities, some of these MMA journalists, and I use that term loosely, legitimately have some good research done for them in the questions that they ask, or the questions that they ask to certain fighters, and the things that they promote as MMA journalists. And then you get a matchup like what we have here. This is Oleksiy the Boa Constrictor Oleinik versus Maurice Green. This is probably the least advertised fight I have heard on this whole card, including the prelim fights. And that befuddles the absolute fuck out of me, because Oleinik is an absolute fucking monster. He might not be the biggest name, but if you look at any time that man steps in the fucking octagon, somebody's in serious fucking trouble. And then you've got another situation here where on the other side of that coin, we've got another one of these up-and-coming fighters. Maurice Green is from one of the more recent seasons of The Ultimate Fighter. And if you watch that season, that man came through with some fucking surprising ability. He's got great movement, and he plays that very slow, for lack of a better terms, he runs the sloth embodiment very well. He doesn't do anything very excitedly. He doesn't move real quick. He doesn't talk real quick. Everything is calm and measured until he steps in the fucking cage. And then this giant cross-eyed motherfucker puts dudes in the hurt zone real fucking fast. The dude's got good footwork. He's got some brilliant fucking striking. And he's got decent ground game and ground defense on top of that. But the problem is Oleksiy Oleinik is a fucking monster. He's a little bit older for a UFC fighter. He's not the biggest name for a UFC fighter. But the things that this old motherfucker has done are absolutely amazing. The submissions that this fucking guy can pull out of his ass at any point in the fucking fight just leave you with your jaw in your lap and your hands in the air wondering how the fuck that worked and how it worked so smoothly, because he is such a technical artist when it comes to submissions from everywhere. Standing on the ground doesn't fucking matter. If the boa constrictor gets you, he wraps you the fuck up. This is going to be a very interesting test for both of these gentlemen, I feel, because we've seen Oleinik wrap up some high names in the UFC, but we've also seen him have a lot of trouble when he gets too desperate going in for those submissions, and he's really subjective to catching a fucking shot on that gigantic chin that he's got. then you look at the other side of it here, and we've got Maurice Green with a beautiful striking pedigree, with great footwork, with decent defense, but he's never been in there under the big lights on the main card against a guy as experienced as Olynyk. So this one has actually really been hard for me to try and lean one way or the other in, because both of them have a beautiful set of skills unto themselves, but we really have seen them kind of not get the best of matchups in terms of highlighting that, I think would be the best way to put it. I love Maurice Green. I really fucking do. I love his style, but I feel that in this situation against a monster like the boa constrictor, Mr. Green is just that. He's too green. He just doesn't have enough experience to build a fight IQ that you would need to defend against someone like the boa constrictor. I think this is going to be a great match, and I think we're going to get to see some great fighting for the first round. But I think by the time we get to round 2, I think Alexei is going to have it dialed in. I think he's going to end up with Maurice on the ground, and I feel like we're going to get a submission late in round 2 here from Mr. Olynyk.
Yeah, I think the big question is, I mean, Olynyk got put away bad
Yeah.
on that last one.
Yeah.
He got put away really bad on his last fight. And everybody's asking, does he have anything left? And that's the type of fight you don't want to fucking take against someone like the boa constrictor. Like, do I have something left? Someone hold my beer, or someone hold my fucking vodka, or whatever the fuck's going on. He's an older guy. I mean, he's what, 42, 43? 42? Yeah. I mean, he's an older dude for the UFC, but I mean, we've seen them crafty old motherfuckers before.
Yoel's 43 and he's about to get a fucking title shot. Another one.
It's the heavyweight division too.
Yeah,
Old
this
men are always
is heavyweights. Yeah, this is for anybody that's curious. This is fucking heavyweights. Like this is going to be a good fucking time. This fight's going to be a good fucking time. And I mean, Green's whole job in this is stay away, pick away, look for your opening, take your shot. If that doesn't work, go back to plan A.
Yeah.
Pick away, and try and wear Alexei the fuck out. If he can do it, he can win the fight. But you're coming up against a dude who just got knocked out. He's got a reputation. People are saying, "Oh, he's fucking finished." You don't want to take those fights. You don't want this sort of fight. And I give him props because this came together fairly quickly. This is neither of them had all that long of a camp for each other, so it's I got to give it to Alexei though. I mean, he's got something to prove, and you don't want to go up against a dude like that. He's crafty. He'll sneak a cinder block into the ring and just deck him with it, and then choke him out. Like, you don't want to fight a crafty old man.
Yeah, it gets dangerous that way.
The one thing I want to know about this is, albeit shorter camps for them, how much did Maurice Green train to defend against an Ezekiel choke?
He better
I'm
have.
just saying.
Fucking better have. Cause
He better have, because how many does the boa constrictor have just in the UFC? I think he's got
UFC
3.
alone. Or yeah, no,
He's
I think you're right. I think he just got his 3rd one.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. His last 2 fights, he's gotten cleaned the fuck out because he got knocked out in his last one, and his one prior to that, he got fucking KO'd. However, he's not known as a fucking striker. They don't call him the boa constrictor for nothing. He finds a way to people's necks. And for those of you who are unaware what an Ezekiel choke is, he gives up the mount to people. He lets them mount them so he can fucking choke you out from the mount, so you feel like a real asshole that you tapped out in the most dominant position possible. And he has some ungodly fucking long arms, which is why he is the only person in the UFC to ever pull off an Ezekiel choke. And not once, not twice, but 3 fucking times. If you're not sure what it is, it looks kind of like a reverse rear naked choke where the guy is facing him, sitting on top of him.
Yep.
Think of it that way. If you don't know what it is, go look it up. There's a couple of examples of him doing it. The Junior Albini fight was a prime example. He let Junior Albini think that he was going to win the fight. No! Wrong, motherfucker.
Yep.
But I think this is going to come down to is, can Alexei avoid getting hit and get the fight to the ground? If he gets it to the ground, Maurice Green is fucked. Yep. He's not winning that fight. If Maurice keeps it on the feet though, and can manage to avoid staying off the ground with the boa constrictor, he's in good shape. Because obviously we've seen the chin be tested, and it's failed the test twice in a row now. And not just a little bit, but bad.
It was bad.
With knockouts, we always talk about it, diminishing returns. That thing doesn't return as good as it was prior to that knockout, especially not knockouts like he took. So I'm gonna say, purely on his old craftiness, he'll get that fight to the ground. Maurice isn't gonna end up getting choked out. Probably, I'm gonna say, in the second, early third round at the latest. If it goes late, I don't think Alexi's going to be able to pull it off just because of the whole sweaty factor and all that. But I have Alexi winning this via submission. Now, whether he gets another Ezekiel choke or not, that's to be seen. If he does, I'm all about it because that's fucking fantastic to see. However, I think we got a better chance of seeing something like a rear naked choke or an arm triangle. But, what do I know? Again, armchair quarterback here. Just call him what he's.
So Olenek got a longer record than an N.Divine live coil building tutorial. Jesus Christ, 57-13-1. That's like
Been around
1,000
forever.
bucks. Yeah, that's a shameless plug right there. I got Maurice Green because he's just impressive. I think he's
Very impressive.
Fuck yeah.
yeah, and that's just what I'm doing. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's definitely something I was going to bring up too. I feel like the experience with Olenek in itself is going to be an issue for Mo Green, just because not only does he have the experience, but Mo Green is very, I feel like he's top heavy. He's a real tall guy. Olenek has a smaller stature, where I feel like if he does try to go in, that's how he's gotten caught by Walt Harris. These guys who have this crazy power, but can Mo Green counter Olenek's craftiness in the takedown, not just the submission, but the takedown itself, because of his height and the experience that Olenek has. I don't think Maurice Green can bring anything to the octagon that he has not seen. I feel like Olenek's seen everything possible, but he still has got himself in trouble many times, and bad trouble. I mean, the Walt Harris was, you didn't expect it. I feel like a lot of people thought it was going to be a ground fight as well, but here you are. He goes to sleep. But Mo Green only has 11 fights. Maybe just professionally, of course, just professionally, but what is his experience outside of that? His experience in the Ultimate Fighter house. There's always a chance. It could be anybody's fight, but at the same time, you have to respect the experience coming from this Russian guy who has. I mean, the Russians are killing it as it is. They're out there. I mean, we know this, but my whole thing with it is I believe, much like everybody else has pretty much agreed, Olenek's going to be too crafty for him to handle if he can get him down. And then also, in my perspective, the takedown itself is going to be very interesting because Mo Green's lack of experience and his stature. What is he, 6'5"? He's a giant, 6'8", something like this. He's a huge guy. So I think, from what I've seen, those guys either fight really well off of their back, like a Stefan Struve, or they have real trouble. Maybe he can hold him down. Maybe Mo Green catches an Ezekiel on him because of positioning. Who knows? How crazy would it be? But I still got Olenek winning the fight.
If that fucking happens, I will eat my goddamn underwear.
It's a fight game, man.
Yeah.
This is true.
Everyone tune into the What Did I Say episode of
Right.
with underwear.
Right, that could be a real interesting What Did I Say show this weekend, folks.
Know that I will be setting I just want to say I'll be setting a GoFundMe for after that for the small bowel surgery that I'm going to require to get rid of that blockage.
I should also mention Mo Green has never lost by decision.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Got what, 4 submission wins?
It's an interesting matchup between the two of them. It really is, and it feel like it definitely deserves a little more notoriety than it's been getting recently. But that's what Saturday's for, because we're going to find out one way or another. Now, with that being said,
you gotta love the Haas fights anyway.
That's right. But with that being said, that's going to bring us into the potatoes au gratin, to our full course dish on this particular episode here, the co-main event of the evening. And boy, I tell you, for the first show of the year, for coming out to set the precedent and set the tone for the year of 2020, the UFC has dropped the fucking ball so hard. So fucking hard on this one here. On a night where they have got literally every eye in the MMA world fixed firmly on the only combat sports game in town starting out the 2020 year. With all of the eyes they have and all of the opportunities they have to put on these great fights that are going to set the precedent for 2020, they give us a rematch that no one asked for that doesn't make a fucking bit of difference in the division. Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington 2. Fuck me running, is this a waste of an opportunity by the UFC? Now, I will say this. Just like with every fight prior to this, I have very, very little doubt whatsoever that a victory here will get Holly Holm another title shot.
Yep.
That being said, I don't think it's going to come by any show of talent or any show of technique. This is a fight where we've got basically a fluke versus a fluke. Every big win that both Holly and Raquel have in the last, I'll say 3 years, has been luck or lucky timing, and has almost every single time on both sides of this card been followed up by a devastating loss to someone that, based on precedent, should have been an easy victory. This, I would say, goes all the way back for Holly even to the fucking Ronda fight. Because that Ronda fight, and I know I am not expressing the most popular opinion here, and I give zero fucks. I am a firm believer the Holly Ronda fight was nothing more than the demonstration of the fluke that has become Holly Holm's career. Not to say that she has no talent, not to say that she has no ability, but her value, her representation has been far exceeded of her talent. The head kick that she landed on Ronda was not hard to land on Ronda. Anybody that watched Ronda fight knew that she kept her head squarely on the center line. That's how Amanda was able to piece her the fuck up so easily. Ronda didn't move from the center line. So that head kick that she ended Ronda with, yes, it ended Ronda, and I will absolutely give her credit for that. But what did she do after that? She lost the fucking belt immediately. Raquel has had the same thing. She's had some great victories, and then the next time you see her out, she gets her ass handed to her. Now we've got a rematch of what wasn't necessarily a great or exciting fight to begin with, without any real development on either side from either fighter here. Holly hasn't shown anything different in her last 7 fights than we saw in her first fight. Same with Raquel. We haven't seen anything different in her last half a dozen fights than we did the first time we saw her step in there. Neither one of them have evolved their game, so we're reshooting a match that wasn't really that exciting to begin with, and they're slapping it in the fucking co-main event card. This would have been a prime spot to put the Pettis-Ferreira fight. The fireworks that those two are going to set off, I feel, would have perfectly complemented what we're going to talk about in the next fight, which is why everybody is watching this weekend. But this, I feel, instead is almost a slice of ginger to clean your palate from good fights, and then you've got another one coming. But in the meanwhile, just a little something, not a lot of action. There's not going to be a big flashy show between Holly and Raquel. There might be some crazy fucking head kick attempts, but neither one of these two has a really flashy or a really exciting skill set, and neither one of them is on a roll dominant enough to really warrant the hype that they want this fight to have. So it doesn't. That being said, every fight starts on the feet, and that's where both of these two prefer to be. So while it's not the most exciting fight, there is still some legitimate potential for excitement in this fight. And as much as I might not like her personally, and I fucking don't, I think that Holly in this situation has more tools than Raquel does to work with. And I feel like even though she hasn't really evolved her game very much, I feel that overall, still, Holly has the better game than Raquel. And I feel like it's going to be a very lackluster overall fight. I think we're going to a decision. I think Holly's going to get the nod, and then I think she's going to get another fucking title shot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is Holly Holm name value at its finest. You know, people still talk about Rousey. So, oh, who's that gal that knocked her out? Holly Holm. Oh, Holly Holm. Holly Holm's fighting this weekend. It's just name value. It's name value. And they gave her a fight. It's her fight to lose. I mean, she's got way better footwork than Raquel. She can just dance. She can dance around for 3 rounds and call it good enough. You know, if someone lands a lucky shot, which I don't think either of them against opponents with as much skill as we'll call it. I mean, at least they know where. At least they know not to just come straight ahead and get their fucking head kicked in. So it is. I think it's going to be a decision. I think Holly Holm probably takes it. She gets another title shot. She gets annihilated. It's name value for a card that was lacking a little bit, I guess. I'm not excited about this one in any way, shape, or form. Amanda Nunes is sitting back drooling at the thought of getting either of these two just so she can put on a fucking showcase after that last fight that she had. So, I expect Holm to dance around for 3 rounds. Keep ahead of her on the fucking footwork, and keep ahead of Raquel on the footwork. Little bit more precise striking from Holm. She's bigger, she's faster, she's stronger. I have a hard time not giving it to Holm. I don't think either of these two can finish each other. So time will tell, though. Time will tell. Maybe I'll be wrong, and Raquel just knock her the fuck out, and that'd be pleasing too. That'd be a pleasing result to me as well. But I don't see it happening in any way, shape.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I think most folks would that pay attention to the MMA game.
Right.
You just said 2 of the greatest things that I've ever heard about Holly Holm. 1, this is a name game for pulling somebody's name who everybody knows now because we all saw that head kick her around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, you made a great point about Nunes. She needs somebody to ragdoll around after looking like she was going to get beat up until she decided to be fuck somebody else and go with it. But yeah, I'm just. Either way, that did make me giggle a little bit, even though I was muted. That shit was pretty funny. I will say this fight about as lackluster as it can fucking get. To be honest, I don't give a fuck who wins this fight. Actually, no, I'm gonna take back that. I don't want Holly Holm to win this fight at all. Not one single bit. Because that bitch does not deserve another shot at the title. She hasn't strung together fucking two wins in a row in the last 5 fucking years. I might be mistaken. Please, somebody call me out because I didn't go check the stats.
I have it up. You're absolutely right. She hasn't strung together 2 since 2015, November 15th, when she beat Ronda Rousey.
Okay, fucking nailed it. All right, we're good. And that was just me guessing because I didn't go and fucking look at her stats because I honestly don't care enough to.
Yeah.
Look, she did a great thing. She became the champion and then immediately got choked the fuck out. However, the one thing I can give to her, she didn't tap out. Kudos to you on that. You went to sleep instead of tapping. I respect anybody who will do that. But I don't want to see another title shot with her. I don't want her to fight Nunes. I don't want Pennington to fight Nunes. To be honest, both of them can go to fucking Bellator. Bye. Here's your fucking walking papers. I'll sign them for you. I'm not Daddy Dana, but I'll do it. Look, the only thing fucking Raquel Pennington has won has been Tisha Torres. That's it.
Okay.
She can get lost too. I mean, fuck them both. I don't care who wins this fight as long as it's not Holly Holm. And if we're lucky, Raquel will win, and then she'll get in some sort of bad accident and won't be able to fight for fucking a year or two, or she'll force fucking Nunes to fight somebody other than these two bitches. That note, fuck them, I'm done.
So I got Holly Holm because she only loses to champions. That's a fact. Misha Tate, Valentina Shevchenko, Jermaine Durandamy, that's a hard one. Chris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes are her 5 losses, all champions. That's all she loses to. And she seems to be having this little pattern: win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, and she lost her last one. So
Don't you dare compare her to fucking Cowboy Cerrone ever. She's not even in the same fucking class.
they're in the same camp. Well, they used to be in the same camp. Yeah. But yeah, I actually like Holly Holm. I don't want to see her in another title fight though. But man, when she comes out, dude, it looks like she's on meth because she's got a lot of fucking
Trailer
energy.
Park Mom.
I think it's nerves, but man, she's hilarious when she comes out of that fucking tunnel. Oh
Yeah,
my
she's
God,
all kinds of jitsy.
jumps around the whole time. Oh man, it looks like she's on some kind of fucking speed, some kind of Mexican supplement or something.
She looks like Eminem's mom from 8 Mile. The other thing that I have to mention about this, which is really crazy, is never in 100 years would you see 2 men fighting in the co-main event and one of those men have a 10-7 fucking record. That in itself should make people not want to buy this pay-per-view. If it's not for Conor McGregor and Donald Cerrone, no one's going to, because the main event features a woman with a 10-7 record. That's an embarrassment. You shouldn't have made it to the UFC. You should have been gone after that crazy cut that she had in her head in one of her last fights. Raquel Pennington has been a slouch since I started watching MMA. She's been boring to watch. She's gotten beat up a lot. She takes a lot of damage. And then Holly Holm, much like you guys said, and much like the other fights, just a name. They needed to have a name. But I think Meter is 100% on the ball when he says this should have been Anthony Pettis and Fajera in the co-main event. Why do anything else? These guys should be down in the prelims 100% because we already know what the end result is going to be. But like I said, if you look at the entire weight class that they're both in, of course, Holly Holm has only fought champions because the belt has pretty much touched everybody's hand in the division. There's only 17 women that fight in the division. That's crazy. That's why you see so many of these unremarkable matchups and then somehow getting the co-main event. I mean, move Alexei Olenek and Mo Green up there. Move anybody up there. Please, somebody get a hurt ankle or something before the fight so we can move one of these prelims up to the main event. Let's go ahead and do that. Because if you're looking at it as a business, the UFC trying to sell pay-per-views through ESPN is already a joke, but they're not going to move numbers with just Conor McGregor and Cerrone. Yeah, that's a huge deal, but look at the rest of the main card. Those are all outside of Showtime, who's way down in the prelims. Who's another big name besides Holly Holm? That's why I think she nailed that spot. But why? What draw does that have? But I still have Holly Holm by decision just because, much like you guys already said, the movement. She's going to stay away. Raquel doesn't have that great of a stand-up. Holly is constantly trying to throw things. And the name, it's a fluke. Much like you said, if she would have beat Ronda Rousey and then went on to defend the title even once, twice, she'd be more respectable. But they talk about, I mean, when it comes to the highlights and when the fighters are walking out, the 8 Mile Mom and she's walking out, they're saying the same thing that they've always said about her. Oh, she's a ex-kickboxer and that's pretty much it. So how can we sit here and, I'm going to go spend $80 on this huge fight, Conor's comeback, but yet the top 5 fights, only one of those is actually worth watching. I mean, we're spending the money for it. We'll say that because if you're an actual fan, you will watch them all. But to spend the money on it, you got to be kidding me that is this co-main event, a 10-7. I mean, Nate Diaz has a shit record and he's still selling fights, but that's because Nate has a personality. He brings something to the table. But a 10-7 woman fighter in a division of only 15 fighters, it's not exciting. There's no draw there. So Holly Holm for the win decision, or hopefully there's no fight at all. But
I don't think any of us are that lucky.
I'm not going to talk about either one of those two bitches here, but you do make a very good point.
Thank you.
That division, only 17 deep, that's the biggest problem the UFC, in my opinion, has as far as the women's divisions, plural. they are all very small in the stable. Look how many fuckers you've got in the 155 and 170 divisions in the male side of the house. They're super fucking deep. That's why we get so many fantastic fucking fights. Even if they're not top ranked people, they're prospects, we're still getting some damn good fights out of them. When you have a stable that's 17 for one division, you're gonna get this. Look, it doesn't matter how much fucking Windex you spray on a piece of shit, it's still going to be a piece of shit. Case in point with this fight, you're not going to turn it and shine that motherfucker up. It doesn't matter what. It's still a dirty fucking turd.
I mean, to play devil's advocate, there's still value in Holly Holm versus Amanda Nunes. There's still value in it, and that's the entire reason this fight's happening. Because Big Daddy Dana knows there's still value in a rematch.
Because there's no one else.
You can't headline a fucking card with it, but you could co-main event it. You could put it in the middle of the card somewhere,
Right.
and someone's gonna look at that and be like, "Oh, Holly Holm, she's fighting the champ. All right. Last time I saw her fight a champ, she kicked her in the face."
Right.
You know, there's still value in that to the casual MMA observers, and that's a lot of the pay-per-view buys come from MMA casuals like, "Oh, Conor McGregor's fighting tonight.
Right.
Hell yeah, I'll spend $80 on that."
Right.
So there's value. There's still that, and that's like we said it over and over. There's still value in her name, and there's still value in that match somewhere down the road. Raquel Pennington, no, there's no value in that fight. In Nunes versus Pennington, there's no value in that fight. But
Nobody wants to see.
you set up Holly Holmes in a fight that she could and should win. There's value in that. So I get where you're coming from, Daddy Dana. I get where you're coming from because you don't have a deep enough pool. You're ankle deep in a kiddie pool at this point. So
I agree.
get what you can.
There's no threat. There's no threat for Amanda Nunes right now.
No.
That's why she is
No.
quote unquote the best. There's no threat to her. Even if Shevchenko was to come up again, that's still undersized. That's not. I mean, and Shevchenko is one of my favorites. She's very entertaining, and that fight could work, but the size difference is immense. It's obvious when you see them. But there's no threat for Nunes. So Holly Holm, being that she has a name from the Ronda Rousey thing, it's gonna happen. There's no doubt that it's not gonna happen. I mean, they had to scrape and claw for Jermaine Durandamy to even be an option, and that still had to be co-main event, not main event, because they can't sell it.
Yep.
I agree.
Oh no, you
I
don't.
agree. And that's one of those things that, even though we've got a pretty good overall card, like I said, even the biggest card of the year, the precedent setter, isn't immune to the fluff, and this absolutely could be considered fluff. But that's also coming from a fairly self-admitted rabid point of view, because those of us on the panel here are generally fairly hardcore fans, some of us more than others, but everybody here is pretty rabid. We're pretty deep in our obsession with MMA, so this is the point in the show where we get to retract our fangs and put the shackles down a little bit and sit back and relax for just a moment or two, and we let the hardcore kind of wash away for a minute, and we bring down the tone, and we turn on the lava lamps, and you light some incense, and we bring what we like to call the casual corner into play, and we bring in our favorite casual, the one and only Miss Loomy Streams, to give us a nice casual point of view for what we're looking at on this card here. So I think somewhere in the background here there we go. I knew we had her around here somewhere.
Casual is here. Casual's honestly not too impressed. Casual's meh. A lot of these fights, to be honest, like I started out with a lot of enthusiasm, just super excited about getting into the UFC, but then they keep bringing in all these fluff fights. So slowly each week I'm just kind of like, eh. Although Conor McGregor, that's a name that every casual would know. So, and Cowboy Cerrone. So, those are still names that you should know. I've never seen them, so kind of still meh until I know otherwise. So, me being the casual that I am, I'm going with McGregor because Cowboy Cerrone kicked Jim Miller in the face, and that's one person I'll get excited for his fights. And fuck Cowboy Cerrone for kicking Jim Miller in the face. Fuck that bitch. He can suck a dick. And at least McGregor brought out not the best whiskey in the world, But at least he gave us a whiskey that we can all drool over, an excuse to go out and buy some whiskey to try it. And then I had a couple more thoughts. I thought because Conor McGregor was coming out from like a mini retirement or hiatus or whatever, I figured he was going to be really old. He's actually 5 years younger than Cowboy Cerrone. That was kind of surprising. I was thinking, oh, this old man might not have it in him anymore. Nope, nope. 5 years younger. So, McGregor, get him. Get that fucker that kicked Jim Miller in the face. Get him. That's the casual's thoughts. Plus, Conor McGregor has more knockouts, where Cowboy has more tendencies of
Submitting. Yeah. Hugging.
Hugging him.
I don't like that. I'd rather just watch you done.
Cowboy Cerrone has the most head kick knockouts in UFC history.
Yeah, Jim Miller got one of them, so he can go ahead and fuck off.
That's one way to look at it. Either way, we appreciate the casual corner, Ms. Lumi. We appreciate your feedback here and giving us our casual input for the evening. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, with our casual moment, our woosah of the episode, as it were, done, let me get the foam back into my rabid fucking mouth here, because holy fucking shit, boys and girls, the main event we're about to talk about is Conor fucking McGregor versus Donald fucking Cerrone. We have got one of the biggest fights in UFC history before us this weekend. And I said it before, and I will say it again. I don't give a fuck who else is on this card. This is a Conor McGregor show. Plain and fucking simple. And the beautiful thing about that is that a Conor McGregor show is never a one-man show, because in a business like this, it takes two to tango. And you never get excited about a Conor McGregor fight being boring, because you don't have a Conor McGregor fight that's boring. Any time Conor McGregor steps in the fucking ring, it is something to behold. And it's not just because he's got casual fan recognition. There's a reason Conor McGregor is touted by everyone, professionals and casuals alike, as the most significant MMA fighter in history. He legitimately put UFC on the everyday person's map. You can ask any bum off the street. They at least know the name Conor McGregor. They may not know everything about UFC. They may not know he's fighting Cowboy or Cerrone here. But you can ask damn near anyone on this planet in almost any country, and they will recognize Conor McGregor's name. The beautiful thing about that is that if you look in the hardcore world, he's twice as popular as he is in the casual world, for the opposite reason, because the hardcore fans are a very split camp. You're either 100% pro McGregor because you have faith in what he can and has done, or you're 100% against him because one fucking time in a man's career, he tapped to a submission. And I'm telling you right fucking now, sure as there's sandals on my fucking feet with socks on, it was one tap that set a stain on that man's record. One of the most prolific MMA fighters in history has had his record to a good majority of people tarnished because of one submission tap. But you turn around and you look at the guy that he's fighting. Cowboy Cerrone is one of the baddest of the bad. Period. I don't mean weight class. I don't mean in this era of UFC. I mean baddest of the bad. Period. But we've seen him have an issue with body shots. We've seen him have an issue with a strong shot to the jaw, setting him just off enough to be stopped in his fucking tracks. This makes for a very, very interesting matchup here, because aside from everything else, just looking at the direct matchup itself, we have got a great boxer / striker with decent defense and decent groundwork overall against one of the highest level kickboxers / strikers with a dangerous submission pedigree to boot. but neither one of them are playing where they're used to playing. Both of these gentlemen predominantly prefer to come down to 155 and keep lightweight as their home. But now we've seen both of these gentlemen more often than not lately testing their waters up at 170, both of them liking 170 more. And then we talk about the matchup itself, and both of them consider this a 155-pound match where neither one of them has to cut the weight. And I know that a lot of people don't see it that way, but that realistically is what this fight is. Both Cowboy and Conor have said multiple times during this press week, both of them are underweight right now. I would not be surprised in the least bit to see both of them step on the scale tomorrow morning and hit 165 and still look absolutely fucking normal. No gaunt, no suck in, no weight cut look, as it were. Both of them are going to step on the scale tomorrow, and they're both going to look perfectly fucking healthy. And then they're both going to step in the octagon Friday, and they're both going to look perfectly fucking healthy. And regardless of anything else that comes from this fight, that, I think, is one of the most important things that we need to make a point to harp about. Regardless of the outcome, these are two gentlemen who very easily could have fought at a weight class below, sapped themselves, sucked the water out of themselves, and made the point that they're both quote-unquote 155-pound fighters, but they didn't. They agreed to take this fight at welterweight so that both of them can have what should be their optimal fight ability. This is both of their walking around natural weights, and I feel that more than anything else is going to be the cause of us getting a spectacular fight on Saturday night. There's a big thing that's going to separate, or not so much separate, but help dictate, I feel, how this fight goes. We know that Conor McGregor, for as fucking great as he is on the feet, has a predilection to being dominated on the ground. When he gets to the ground, he scrambles like a motherfucker, but we've seen him dominated a couple of times now by better grapplers and better wrestlers. The other side of that coin, Cowboy is really good at getting guys to the ground and doing what he wants when he gets there. But Cowboy has a horrible tell when he's trying to take the fight to the ground. He has one thing that he does every single time, and if John Kavanaugh is anything now like he has been for Conor's entire career, they've seen this multiple times. When Cowboy shoots, when he goes for his level change, he does it very different than most people do. When most people go for a level change, they will hook a single leg and then push you crossbody. Cowboy doesn't do that. When Cowboy goes for the takedown, he shoots for the single leg and puts his head on the same side he's pushing and moves your entire base down. He doesn't trip you crossways like most wrestlers and most grapplers do. He sticks on the same side, so when he takes your base away, it forces you to post either on one arm or post with a leg to try and recenter yourself. That's when he moves in position and he sets up his dangerous submissions. But Conor McGregor, being a southpaw, being a quick counter, is going to negate that, because when Cowboy shoots in, Conor is real good at the push-off. All it takes with Cowboy shooting in on the same side, one good push-off, and he's open to a solid counter. So that makes the game real interesting to see if it's going to go to the ground, if it actually gets there. But then you add in the biggest X factor that we have in this matchup. If you watched the press, if you watched the press conference, if you watched the fight week promos that they've been doing individually, Cowboy has said multiple times, everybody keeps telling me, don't stand with him. He's got the best left hand in the game, and if he catches you, you're done. And Cowboy's response every time is that I think I'm the best in the game. Why the fuck would I not want to stand with the best in the game and see if I can take that shot and see if he can take mine? Yes, the jiu-jitsu is there. Yes, the takedowns are there. But Cowboy doesn't want to ground fight. Cowboy knows what he's up against, and he wants to test himself against it. So that means that even though we know Cowboy has that takedown ability, he has those submissions, that's not his game plan. He wants to come out and he wants to bang with one of the best strikers in the game. And we know for a fact that Conor has been working his ground game. We know he's been working his wrestling. We know he's been working his jiu-jitsu. He's been working his takedown defense. He's trying to fix all the things that we saw wrong in the Khabib fight, which will absolutely directly reflect in this Cowboy fight because all of those same threats are there, plus more. Cowboy's one of the best kickboxers in the fucking world, and he's got Joe Stitch'em up in his fucking corner. Joe Schilling, one of the best ever, not current, not previous, one of the best ever kickboxers, Muay Thai fighters, in his corner, working his striking, keeping him on point. So we know that Cowboy is sharp as a fucking tack. We know that Conor has been working his weaknesses. So this is all going to come down to who can stick to their game plan, who keeps their eye on the prize. We all know, anyone who's seen one Conor fight knows, he's coming out swinging. He's coming out like a goddamn Ferrari, pedal to the floor, and he's going to blow the fucking motor before he lets off. But is Cowboy really, really ready for that? Because we know Conor's coming, and we know what he's going to do. We know that left cross is aiming for your fucking chin, and he's got a beautiful game to help set that up. But we know Cowboy has got great defense, and Cowboy has great striking, and Cowboy has longevity. But is Cowboy really ready for this flurry that McGregor is going to come out with? I absolutely love Cowboy, and I absolutely love Conor, and this was a legitimate, difficult fight for me to pick. But I feel that after some great back and forth that we're going to see, and we're going to see some back and forth, I feel after some great back and forth between the two of them, I think Cowboy is going to be a little too in his own head. He wants to prove a point, and I think that Conor is just that type of dude to let him lure himself into that false sense of security and then just lay it out. And I don't think it's going to be quick, and I don't think it's going to be ugly, or I don't think it's going to be pretty, rather. I think it's going to be an ugly, grueling fight. I think we're going to see Conor tested very much more than he possibly ever has been on the feet, because I don't think Cowboy is going to use his ground game, even though it's there. I think Cowboy really does want to prove to himself and to everyone else that he can stay on the feet and he can hang and beat Conor on the feet. But I don't think it's happening. I think it's going to be a great war. I think we're going to see some fucking spectacular heart from both of these gentlemen. But I think at the end of the day, I think at the end of the third, Conor's going to put Cowboy to bed.
So, I love Cowboy Cerrone because he'll take any fight anywhere against anybody. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yep.
That's probably the best part about Cowboy. And he took this fight, and basically everybody's like, okay, this dude could give Conor some trouble if he takes him down. Like we know that Conor has some trouble, especially against dudes as skilled as Cowboy is. But then during the press conference, he basically told everybody, "Don't tell me how to live my fucking life. Like, I want to fight Conor McGregor strike for strike and see if I can hang." If dude sticks to that game plan, I don't like his chances. We know what Conor McGregor is. Conor McGregor's a sly motherfucker. He'll lead him in, he'll set him up, and he'll look like he's getting a little gas, and then next thing you know, here comes that left. And he's a dangerous fucking dude, and he is super focused. Like Conor McGregor is laser focused on this fight. A lot of times he's all over the place. Braggadocious, he's riding around in a fucking Lamborghini, swilling whiskey in the streets of Vegas, and doing lines of blow off hookers' asses, and he's having a blast. That's not the Conor we've seen this time. He's respectful of his opponent. He knows what this dude is, and as he should be. Cowboy's been around for he's been around for quite a while, right? He's been around for a long time, and everybody respects Cowboy. Everybody respects Cowboy, and it's nice to see Conor, see a different side of Conor. If he's as focused as he looks like he is on Cowboy, I don't like Cowboy's chances in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, they backed a truckload of money up to both these guys and dumped it in their pools. Conor will probably pull, what's he saying, 80 mil?
He's saying 80. He's predicting 80 with all said and done this time.
When the pay-per-view buys come in, he's predicting 80. I bet they dumped 15, 20 mil in Cowboy's pool to make him come out and take this fight. I really hope it goes the distance. I would love to see these two just go strike for strike for strike. I would love to see it. Is Cowboy gonna legitimately stick to that game plan? Is there gonna he gets himself in trouble, I mean, it's going to be tempting to go for that takedown. It's going to be mighty tempting because you know that Conor's got trouble. So I really think this is Conor's fight. Obviously he's coming back. He's got other things on the plate, but he's really focused on Cowboy Cerrone, and I don't like Cowboy's chances against a super focused in his prime Conor McGregor. So I got Conor.
All right. I'm going to be the devil's advocate here since everybody else is going to run the Conor train. I love Conor. Love what he does. Super impressed with his super focus. To be honest, I think this is probably going to be the most dangerous Conor we've ever seen. However, somebody needs to play devil's advocate here because it has to be done. He's facing Donald Cowboy Cerrone. That dude has a laundry list, a mile long, of fucking records in the UFC. Knockouts, most wins, most fights.
Most
for
bonuses.
a good fucking reason. He's no goddamn slouch. Look, he's had 2 fucking losses. And guess what? Both of those losses, and the people that are going to fight on for the fucking belt. It is what it is. He's made some poor choices in his career as well on taking fights he probably shouldn't have. Including blowing the nose. He shouldn't have even taken that fight with Ferguson because he was in line for the title, in my opinion, prior to that fight.
Agreed,
but
100%.
This is Cowboy we're talking about here, so it's anytime, anywhere. I want to throw down. I love the fight. That's fucking fantastic. Where I think everybody is fucking sleeping on him so bad is everybody thinks that Conor is going to outstrike him. And then I really don't think that that's the case. Now, his striking is fucking fantastic. He doesn't throw a lot behind his strikes. The only thing that gets a lot behind it is those head kicks. He's a guy that lets it add up slowly throughout the fight. And then when you're about 3 rounds deep, that's when it gets poured on. We all know fucking Cowboy's a slow starter. The key to this fight is going to be, does Cowboy come out the gate fast enough to manage to avoid how quick we know Conor comes out? And look, we've seen it. Conor, he has some diminishing returns round by round because his gas tank does get a little bit slower. But that's for this reason. You look at people with one-punch knockout power, a lot of them have that diminishing return round after round. Why? Because that's a fast twitch muscle. That uses a lot more energy than somebody who's not using a fast twitch muscle. Simple biology. Unfortunately, it's going to come down to whether or not he can catch Cowboy early. And I say early, no later into the second round, maybe beginning of the third. By that point, if he has not caught Cowboy at that point, Cowboy is going to pick him apart because he's going to have slowed down. Not that he's going to be gassed, but he's going to be slow enough to where Cowboy can work his game plan that he always does when he's in those types of fights. He was slowly picking apart. It's going to be a fucking war. Don't get me wrong. People are going to get hit. There will be blood spilled. As Conor said, we all know it's not going to be bad blood because they've had a lot of respect for each other coming into this, which is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But to be honest, unless Conor can put him away early, he's going to lose the fight. Which, for me, that's a bummer. But it's also a bummer if Cowboy loses to me.
Right.
But if I'm going to pick something here, I'm going to pick Cowboy on this fact alone. I think he outlasts Conor going into the later rounds, picks him apart, finishes him probably in the late 4th, middle of the 5th. Now, look, everybody saw the tap heard around the world so fucking well. Every fighter hits a guy that they lose to. It just happens. When he came back, avenged his loss, albeit a little controversial. It was a win. And everybody's so worried about what Conor's done in the last 3 years. Look, he fought twice at, let's see, he's only lost one at 170, he's lost one at 155.
Yep.
So you can't say he's on a losing streak because they were in two different fucking weight divisions. Fuck right off with that nonsense. I will not get behind that train of shit. Look at the resume in the last 3 years, what Cerrone has done. He has dispatched a ton of fucking people. He's lost a couple that were pretty fucking ugly. Namely, the Gaethje fight. That was fucking ugly. Like, I know he would have kept fighting Ferguson had he not been stupid and blown his fucking nose. But that one, still a loss. He didn't get knocked out like he did with the Gaethje fight. I mean, you even watched the interview that he had with fucking, what was it, Akamoto or
Yeah, brother.
earlier this week? Yeah, he said, he goes, yeah, I wanted to keep fighting, and then I'm glad I watched the replay and went, thanks for fucking saving me, because that would have been stupid. So he knows he's been beat up, but he knows that's part of the game. I just don't. I'm like I said, I'm doing this purely on the devil advocate side of this thing because I'm having a really hard time fucking picking a winner for this fight because Conor could come out and just fucking clean his clock quick and early. I mean, he dropped Diaz how many fucking times in their 170 fight? In the second one, like 3 or 4 times. Oh yeah, it's very possible that he could drop and put away fucking Cerrone. However, I don't see that happening as likely as everyone thinks it is. I think they're sleeping on Donald. I really do. Cowboy's fucking, his stand-up game is fucking phenomenal. Contrary to what everybody thinks versus what Conor has. Look, Conor has some amazing fucking boxing skills. Amazing boxing skills. However, Donald strings together boxing with his kicks. He doesn't just come 1-2 at a time. He's not looking for that one crazy left. No, he's feeding them to you. He's pop, 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 head kick. Look, we all know Conor's got a great fight IQ, and he says he can read him like a book. I don't think that's the case. There's been plenty of people who have said that about Cerrone and then promptly met their fate to a fucking high kick. Whether it was a fucking left kick, we've even seen a couple fucking straight up the pipe cleaning people's clocks. I'm just saying.
Oh, Al caught one.
Yep. Raging Al did catch one. He did catch that
right
nice
to the
fucking front
grill.
kick.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I really think that this is going to end up going into the later rounds. And I think Cowboy's going to get it in the later rounds. I'm talking late 4th, no, middle of 5th. Either way this fight goes, it definitely does not go to the end. On the other side of that, Conor, if he comes out and pulls the old fucking him Jose Aldo fight, I'll eat my fucking words right there. Because to be honest, I'm doing this as a devil's advocate side because I really don't know who to pick in this fight. But to pick one, I'm going to give it to Cowboy in the later rounds because we know he's a slow starter.
Right. So I have a theory. I have a theory that Conor's trying to beat the 5-second knockout. And I think the best way to do that, and we know Conor's good at the mind games, the best way to do that is to show your opponent that everything's all good. We're all cool, man. We're all cool. And that's kind of what Jorge Masvidal, he did something like that to Ben Askren. You know, my hands are behind my back. We're good. Let's do it. Maybe he fucking talks to the ref before the fight. I don't know. Whether he does that or not, I don't know. But he's definitely trying to set up that Jorge fight. Jorge talked today that he wants the Conor fight over everything. And he said if the money was the same for the belt against Kamaru, that he would take Kamaru because he just doesn't like Kamaru, but he respects Conor and what he's done for the sport. So they want to fight each other. Conor's definitely looking past Cowboy, I think. I think everybody is when it comes to Conor and Cowboy. I like Cowboy a lot, but I think Connor's going to win. I think it's going to be first round just because the slow start Cowboy, fast start Connor. Um, and I think just that round alone, even if it goes to deeper rounds, is just going to be bad for Cowboy in the long run. He's got a lot of scar tissue and like the nose breaks and shit. It's just um, Connor's way more rested too. He's just very rested, and I think that means a lot. That most of the elite fighters don't fight; they only fight once a year, and there's a reason why they're the best, like Tony Ferguson and Khabib, and guys like that. Even Robert Whitaker is a good example too. He's usually not fighting more than once a year. Um, Man, I would love to see Cowboy win though, but I feel I'm happy for Cowboy just getting this fight, win or lose, because he's getting his payday, and win or lose, that's awesome for him. Because who knows if this ever would have happened? It looked like it wasn't going to happen, and if this is the only way, well, how it played out, that Cowboy could ever get to Khabib, I think, because it looked like it wasn't going that way. But if he wins over this, man, that could really. If he beats Connor, Cowboy's going to blow the fuck up.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
yeah, but I think Connor's got this one. Yeah, I would love to see Cowboy win. I like both of these guys, but I think it does better for the sport if Connor wins also. So that's all I got.
All right, so for your casual fan, you don't pay much attention to these fighters and the growth of them, but for us, we know the repertoire that somebody like Donald Cerrone has. He was one of those guys that was steady in contention in the WEC for title shots. That's where I first saw him, and I was like, this guy looks scary. But his nickname was Cowboy, so I wasn't really into him. But once Conor hit my radar, and I was a huge fan of Cerrone, I was like, that is the match. That is the match because Conor McGregor versus Donald Cerrone, you're guaranteed to have a great fight, especially when Conor or Donald was younger. But here's the thing: the left hand of Conor McGregor is the ultimate threat. And one of the most recent fights that Donald Cerrone lost was to a left hand, Darren Till. But that's a massive size difference. He's technically fighting a guy that's a little bit smaller than him in Conor McGregor now. So will he stand a chance? But you also, just like you said, uh, Devine, you said that if he comes out fast, because Conor comes out fast, he comes off the block quickly. Can Donald maintain? Can he survive through the first round, the first flurry, and be able to counter? But here's the other thing: has Conor ever fought anybody who also not only has great striking skills from the hands, but the feet? I feel like every striker that he has fought, in your Eddie Alvarez, your Dustin Poirier, those guys have great hands, but they don't throw feet in combination like Donald Cerrone. So that in itself has to be a threat. But much like you said, I believe that there is the option that either one of these guys could catch the other person early, but I don't think that they want that. But I am scared of some sort of ridiculous shit happening like the Tony Ferguson, Donald Cerrone, where it just ends on a doctor stoppage. I don't want to see that. We want to see the fight happen. We want to, and also the first round. If it ends in the first round, how ridiculous is that going to be for us as fans? We want to see these guys get into it. I don't want to see a first round knockout. I want this to go as deep as it can. If it's not a decision, that's going to be better. But the left hand is the biggest question because you have to say that is Conor's best weapon. Donald Cerrone has been susceptible to that past. But I also think, what is the chances that Conor McGregor comes in and pulls out the Showtime finish? He does an Anthony Pettis. He pulls out a crazy move that we've never seen him use before and finishes Cerrone that way because he's not expecting it. But as I said, as far as striking matchups go, Donald Cerrone meeting Conor McGregor is easily one of the greatest matchups for anybody who likes MMA. No matter what you think, that is a fight for fight fans. That is a fight that you're guaranteed to have fireworks. You can hope. But much like Ferguson and Cerrone, we were thinking the same thing. This is going to be a battle. This is going to be a war. And sure enough, it was, but it ended in a ridiculous fashion. And that's never fun for the people because then you just think, run it back. Run it back. We want to see him fight again. Or who really won the fight because Ferguson has put damage on all of his last opponents. That's basically how he has won. But I have to say, Conor's 2 losses recently have been to undefeated fighters, guys that have never lost. Floyd Mayweather never lost. Khabib Nurmagomedov never lost. That in itself says a lot about Conor. He's only losing to guys that don't lose. But also, Meter said something about him tapping to Khabib, which is true. But did he tap to Joe Duffy as well, or was he put to sleep?
You're
I
thinking
have no.
Diaz, not Duffy.
Say what?
You're thinking Diaz. He tapped to Diaz and to
So then
Khabib.
he tapped to Diaz, Khabib,
Diaz,
and Joe Duffy.
yeah,
Joe Duffy beat him early. I'm just throwing it out there because I'm not sure, but I know Joe Duffy beat him earlier, and he is still a UFC fighter, to my knowledge. But he's not on the level that Conor is. But like I said, for most of us fans, we've seen both of these guys do really elite stuff, but Conor has never really been on the fall side where it's like you expect him. He's been knocked out or it's been dramatic. He's lost to the best fighters that he could possibly lose to, but Cerrone has lost in flukes in a lot of ways where it's like he got caught, but he has also won with some amazing finishes too. So I was never a huge fan of Conor McGregor. I'll say that in the beginning. I just didn't like him. And this was a matchup I was like, well, this is if he fights Donald Cerrone, we're going to see the real Conor McGregor be exposed. What is he really capable of? But he's already done so much. He's got a ridiculous resume now. But do we get the Donald Cerrone that comes out like he did against Mike Perry? Or do we get the Donald Cerrone that comes out against Mike Perry, or Donald Cerrone that comes out against Darren Till? Which one can we expect? Because here's the other thing you have to wonder. Conor McGregor has done some really dramatic things in the press conferences. He's acted crazy. He's exposed people that way. And then he's came in and dominated them in the fight. Is it going to be different because he's acting cordial to Cerrone? Is he going to, because he likes the guy, is he going to be a different fighter? Or is he more dangerous when he's that way? Hard to say, because to me, this is the first time he's ever been relaxed, where he's fought somebody he actually likes, in a sense, right? So that in itself, for us as fight fans, we have to wonder, is this a more dangerous Conor when he's quiet? Because that's not the Conor that we all fell in love with. I fell in love with Conor after the Jose Aldo, when he said that's how it's going to go, and that's how it went. Had it went any other way, you'd been like, okay, well, I mean, a lot of fighters try to predict their fights and it doesn't work out. Colby Covington. So what I'm saying is, because he actually does like Cerrone, he is a nice guy to him. They talk about drinking together, whatever. Is Conor going to be more lethargic in the sense of fighting him, or is he still going to come in here and try to take his head off? That's what really intrigues me about the fight, because like all of us have said pretty much on the panel, we've all said the same thing. Hey man, whoever wins. It's going to be great regardless, but I want to see the fight go. I don't want to see a first round finish. I want to see them really come in there and make it a dogfight. So I got Conor McGregor taking it in the third. I have a knockout, but I'm also kind of like, I don't know. I still don't know, but it would be. All I ask is that the fight last. Make it last. Don't blow your fucking nose because you got a swollen head, right? Let's fight. Be smart about it. You got a corner for a reason, right?
Right.
Should have told you these things before you did that.
Well, and I think ultimately,
that's all.
That's one of the best things about this fight, is that regardless of who you like, who you don't like, if you can be objective about it for just a second, no matter which way you're leaning, both sides have a legitimate laundry list of tools that they are world class at, that they could easily upset anybody's fucking plans with. Either one of these fighters at any point in this fight have the ability, the strength, and the technique to completely change the whole fight that fucking quick. That, I think, is part of what makes this so great. No matter which side you're on, Cowboy or Conor, either one of them has the tools and the strength to change at any point how this fight has been going up until then. And as much as we can analyze it and break it down, ultimately there is no fucking way to know how this fight is going to come down. And this is probably ironically, this is going to be one of the most exciting What Did I Say shows that I think I'm going to do for this year, just to be able to talk again, not only about all these crazy fights, but to go back over how they all unfolded versus what we were talking about here. Because realistically, as much as we might have had some shit to say about it, this is a damn good card. And to start the year out, compared to how we started years previously, this is a pretty good fucking outing by the UFC, even if it is a Conor McGregor show. So I think ultimately what I would say to the fans who are listening to this, who are watching this, don't take our word for it. watch it for yourself, and I guarantee you will be pleased with the outcome, no matter which way it shakes loose. But that's all we've got for this one, folks. That is our UFC 246 breakdown. So before we get out of here, I want to take a moment and first and foremost thank every one of you guys and gal that were on the panel here with me. And before we get out of here, I want to give each one of you guys a second to let the fine folks know how they can contact you next. So if for some reason this was not fresh enough for somebody watching or listening, how would they be able to get a little more of your input after this, Mr. Fresh03?
You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/Fresh03. We should be doing some tasty mixing tomorrow and Saturday, so be fun. There's a few political things to talk about tomorrow night, but then we'll get down to doing a little bit of DIY. I'm around on all the shows. I do all the things. So that's all I got. I'll pass it to the handsomest coil builder in the universe, Nick Devine.
Yes, I am Nick Devine. Thank you, Fresh. N.Devine83 on Instagram and YouTube. I do coil building tutorials. Guys, it was fun. Patrick, nice to meet you. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next week. And people in chat that are watching, thank you very much. And anybody watching the replay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time as well. And now, if somebody just somehow hasn't heard of DJ Hammy and they don't know what's good for him yet, Mr. Patrick Michael, how can folks find you after this lovely show is over?
Well, as recently said, I've been called an enigma, so I'm going to use that to my strengths and remain as such. You guys can find me at Patrick Michael Comedy on Instagram. Follow the podcast. I'm at the 9min Pod on Twitter. I do a lot of podcasts. I'm all over the place. So simply just Patrick Michael pretty much anywhere, guys. Appreciate being here. I love talking about fights. And you know what? This is a banger. I really look forward to it. The 170 division is on fire. 155. I mean, let's go get it, guys. Let's change the main event, the co-main event, though. That's a disappointment.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Absolutely. And thank you again for your time as well. And now, for some reason, at this point in the game, if folks just don't understand that Green Bay fight knowledge is inherent in some people's blood, how can they get schooled, sir? Mr. Golf Tee, please let them know.
You can find me right here, Golf Tee Vapes, on the YouTubes, Wednesday nights, 9:30 Central Time. On the Instagrizzles, I don't post on there, but you can DM me. I will gladly talk fight shit with you anyway. And I'm here every Thursday. I'm excited to see what this brings. However, there are some disappointments to this, and I just wish there were some people that would get their walking papers that I could sign for them. We'll leave those names off because I really don't feel like giving them any more airtime.
Understandable. Either way, thank you again for your time, sir. Always appreciated from all you fine folks taking the time out of your lives to be a part of this shenanigans show that we put on here. And special thanks to Miss Lumi Streams for her casual corner input. If you were looking for a wild Lumi, she is all over the internet. You can find her as well. Her links are down in the description as well. My links are all down in the description as well. I am the meter. I do many things. This wonderful program is probably the one that I am the most proud of because I get folks together to help talk shit with me, and that's one of my favorite things on the planet. So I will say this before we get out of here. If you enjoyed the show, if we gave you some giggles, if we gave you some interesting things to think about that you didn't have before, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Maybe a subscribe if you dig it. If we really tickled your fancy, if we made you pee your pants a little bit with some of the funny shit that we said, please share an episode. We are trying to grow this damn thing. On the other side of that coin, if we just seem like a couple of dipshits sitting in front of cameras talking out our ass without knowing what we're doing, give me the thumbs down and I won't dispute it. But what I will say is that if this is your deal breaker, and I get it, I have mirrors, this isn't the only choice you have. As of 2020, the I'm No Joe podcast is now officially available in audio form on all platforms. You can now listen to this wherever you choose to get your source for audio podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Google Podcasts. We are on Spotify. You can find us everywhere in audio form. Anchor.fm/I'm No Joe. Now, if you're waiting, like I know some people are going to be, for the recap show to see just how right or wrong we got this shit, Sunday afternoons, mixer.com/I'm No Joe is where you will find the live What Did I Say recap show. And now, if for some reason you can't make it Sunday, I understand schedules sometimes get conflicted. The What Did I Say show is also re-uploaded to YouTube every Tuesday afternoon. So if you can't make it live, you can still catch us here as well. That being said, we are everywhere in 2020, and there are so many big things in the works. I wish I could tip my hat just a little bit to you fine folks, but all I can say is if you like this show in the least bit, stick around. We have got so much in the pipe for you fine folks. But that is what I am going to call this episode. That is all we have for you wonderful people this evening. So remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. And Epstein didn't kill himself. Have yourself a wonderful evening, folks.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. But they fought with expert timing. There were funky Chinamen from funky Chinatown. They were chopping them up, they were chopping them down. It's an ancient Chinese art, and everybody knew their part. From a fainting to a slip, and a kicking from the hip.